Welcome everybody. Very Merry Christmas live stream this evening. Why don't we get into this? It's this time of year. It's a great time to take some time off of work if you can. Visit your family, hang out, eat exorbitant amounts of food, get sleepy, pass out on the couch. Get gifts for your friends and neighbors and family members. This is my favorite time of year that's not warm. Oh my goodness. Welcome everybody. Merry Christmas to everybody who joined us here. I'm gonna cut this music, cutting this. Oh, let's get out of this and let's get right over here. Why don't we get the chat in here? Boop, boop, boop. Come on over. Welcome everybody. This is the live stream. This is what we do every Friday evening. For those of you that are new to the channel, this is the live stream. I normally do content every Monday through Friday. This month has been a little bit backed up and I've been doing 4 days a week, but give me a break. Hey, it's a thing. Things happen and people get busy, but I'm going to be, New Year's resolutions are a thing. I'd love to know what your New Year's resolutions are. Mine is going to be going back to 2 years ago, 2022. When that year hit, I said, I'm going to go to bed super early every day and I'm going to wake up super early. I'm going to get all my stuff done in the mornings, and that's the way I'm going to do things. I'd love to know what your New Year's resolutions are and how your Christmas is going. Everybody, welcome to the live stream here. Exciting show tonight. We've got Marty up north by popular demand. The past few live streams, people are saying, what are you doing? Get Marty in here. Well, Marty's going to be here in the second hour of the show. We're going to go over some stuff, though, in the meantime. Talking about Merry Christmas to everyone except that hoser, Justin Trudeau. Get out of here. Get out of here. He's going to be going to Jamaica, apparently. I hope they keep him. I don't think they want him, though. I don't think that's the thing. But welcome, everybody. Yes, that's right. So this is the live stream at the end of the week. I like to come and do a live show for everybody who wants to join in, and this is my gift back to the community. I'm able to communicate with you. I know you guys leave tons and tons of comments. I try to read as many as I can throughout the week, but it's a lot of comments. It is absolutely a lot of comments. So the best way to do it is in the live format, and it's a lot of fun too. It's great to get everybody in here, and I love to see those likes climb on the video. We got 450 people in the chat room right now. Let's see those likes climb. I know we can get at least a little bit closer to that. 450 from 172. Let's go. Get the likes in here. It helps out, gives that algorithm a big head start on where to recommend these live streams and the videos out to everybody. But yes, let's get into this. The chat room is going nuts. We're doing good. Everybody saying hello to each other. 164 greater. Come on. Yeah, we could do it. We can do it. Merry Christmas, Clyde and everyone from Ottawa. Merry Christmas, Joanne's Creations from Ottawa. Glad to have you. Glad to have you. Merry Christmas, Clyde and everyone. Perhaps okay, I'm reading people's talking to each other. Yeah, everyone people are all talking to each other in the chat. But yeah, we had that fire going when we got in here. I love these fires, and YouTube's just full of them. We have our fireside chat, great for the holiday season. It took me a minute to find public domain music that I could play. I don't have any Christmas music in my repertoire. Merry Christmas from Squamish. Right back at you, Richard. Merry Christmas, everyone. Merry Christmas, Alberta. Just started snowing. We had none. I'm not really wishing for a white Christmas. I'm not gonna lie. It'd be nice to, because I'm gonna be driving to go get my parents tomorrow, and I would like to not be driving in winter weather. Of course, I live on the West Coast, and it is very green here. And I guess not paying our carbon taxes is what really led to that. according to Justin Trudeau, if you don't pay your carbon taxes, we won't have snow at Christmas anymore. Moving into the future, that would be amazing. All you got to do is save some money on your taxes, and the weather gets warmer. As if that would actually happen. I don't think so. No, I do not. Merry honk honk Christmas, everybody. Thank you, Frozen Canadian. Merry Christmas from Halifax. Alex, thank you so much. Vancouver Island. It's balmy. Yeah, I bet it is, Cindy. It's balmy here. It's beautiful. Penny D with a $5 super chat. Merry Christmas, Clyde, and your family, and to all. Thank you so much. Thank you so very much. Yeah, Merry Christmas, Clyde. Thank you. Tech 1982. Wow. That was a very good year. That was the year I came around. Yeah. Merry Christmas, Clyde. Oh, look at that fire to cook those. What was this? How many $10,000 deer steaks they shot on the island? Yeah, that's insane. I heard they spent even more money than that. I heard some other tallies that were in the multi-millions just to cull deer around Canada this year. Thomas Soulier with a, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Soulier with the $20 super chat. Thank you so much. A very Merry Christmas to you, Clyde, your family, and the Clyde Do Something community. Best community on the internet by far. You guys are phenomenal. You're amazing. You really are. You blow me out of the water every single time. I love having you around. And Thomas, thank you so much for that $20 super chat. Really appreciate that. Oh man, I got so much going on. Gonna be doing something with, I don't know, you know the channel AVE. He's a much more popular channel than mine. Sending out a piece of electronics that I broke, and he's gonna tell me what actually broke it, because well, we'll get into that at some point. Warranties are a fickle thing, you know, and companies make a product and then they don't want to stand behind their products in that. The Frozen Canadian with $139.99 super chat. Wow, that's oddly specific, but thank you very much. Merry Christmas all. Thank you so much, Frozen Canadian. Appreciate that. I'm not a Frozen Canadian. I got my fireplace right here. It's keeping me toasty. In fact, it's actually not that cold right now in British Columbia. Well, at least on the West Coast. But thank you so much. Thank you so very much for that super chat, the Frozen Canadian. I really appreciate that. Really, really so much. Thank you. And you're drunk. Okay. Well, don't do anything you would regret later. My man. Appreciate that. But just yeah, have fun. Have a couple of wobbly pops and enjoy the live stream as we get through this. I need to drink more, says Iron Pelvis. Is that Iron Pelvis? I like that. That's something else. Birdie Cracker with the $2 super chat. Excommunicate South Ontario. Is that something that we're trying to work on? I know. I think Marty was giving me some stats about Quebec. Like, Quebec's Trudeau's still popular there for some reason, and he's really putting it. But South Ontario, I think it's just the GTA. Just the GTA. Sorry to all those that live in the GTA, but this is a thing. We've almost written you off at this point. Oh goodness. But I think, you know, poverty solves all of this. Apparently, when people start really feeling the effects of liberal economic policies, they all tend to go, "Hey, wait a second. What is there somebody else that will make it not this bad?" Yeah, perhaps. Yes, just the GTA. Yeah, that's it. No, Trudeau is not popular in Quebec. Okay, well, QC, like Quebec City. We'll have to. I can't remember what Marty was telling me. We'll have to get back into that. Anyway, Marty will be in here for the second half of the show. Looking forward to that, because that's gonna really be good. Yeah, we hate him here in Quebec also. Fair enough. Oh God, wow, that's something else. Nothing like giving Trudy $500,000 Christmas vacation. Not. Yeah, I mean, these politicians should be paying for their own stuff. Paying in their own way. Rhonda Davey with a $10 super chat. RCMP head of advisory has resigned due to political interference. What? I didn't hear about that. I heard about Ottawa's police chief, Bell. What's his name? Steve Bell. I heard he resigned amid some controversy with his kid, I think. Like a Hunter Biden kind of thing. Oof. Love the fireplace, Clyde. Very cozy. Tamara, welcome back to social media. Welcome back. You're allowed to hang out on these live streams now. Well, you're not. I know you watch them, but now you can actually join in the chat. Really lovely. Glad to see you here, Tamara. It's amazing. They give me options here. I'm gonna pop you in here as a moderator just so people can see you. Pop that in there. Wow. All right, here we go. Finally back. Glad to see you. Glad to see you, Tamara. In fact, I was gonna get to in a minute, but I was gonna get to the story of Tamara. Well, we'll get into that in a minute because I wanted to talk about some of these other things that are happening. No, screw it. Let's get right into it. Let's get into it. Tamara is back. Tamara's back. Here she is on Twitter. You can, or X as they call it now. Get over there and give her a follow. Not many people immediately know about this. So, I mean, it takes a minute for this stuff to catch up. But she's at 23,000 followers. Let's get that number up there a lot more. I'll leave a link in the chat here so everybody can pop over real quick and give Tamara a follow. Karen Houston gifting 10 memberships to the channel. Amazing. Thank you so much. Everybody that just got a membership, get in there and give a big thank you to Karen Houston for that. I'm just going to pop this link in here. Why did it not? Oh, the link is too long. Don't give me that. Don't give me that. The link is too long. Why? Why would it do that? Here, just erase all of that. Enter. This link won't be too long. Goodness. There we go. There we go. There's the link to Tamara's Twitter over on X. Go give a follow. The Frozen Canadian with $27.99 super chat. Thank you so much. You're so generous tonight. Merry Christmas to all my beautiful Canadians. I hope the drama teacher gets made this year from Santa. Wow. Okay, that's straight to the point. That's straight to the point. Justin Trudeau needs a maid. Yeah, maybe he orders himself a little room service, asks for a maid, gets the wrong one. I don't know. Mistakes happen. These things happen. Whatever. But anyway, I did a video about this earlier. Tamara Lich back on social media. I'll pop the chat off of here for just a second here to talk about this. Freedom Convoy organizer Tamara Lich in the chat with us tonight. Back on social media after bail conditions are eased. After nearly 2 years of social media silence, Freedom Convoy organizer Tamara Lich has re-emerged online. Lich reactivated her account on X, formerly Twitter, 22 months after she was barred from social media as a part of her bail conditions. It has been 22 long months since I've been allowed to log onto my Twitter account. Lich wrote on Thursday, Elon Musk, did anything interesting happen while I was away? I hope she gets a reply because that would be fantastic. I think Musk should really appreciate that one because, I mean, if he's fighting for free speech, this is where you start. This is where you start fighting for free speech, right there. But I texted Tamara. I said, welcome back earlier today. And I said, hey, would you give a message for everybody? If you didn't watch the video, this will be you seeing this for the first time.
Hi, everyone. Just wanted to take a quick moment and pop on here. Thank you so much, Clyde, for the invite. Absolutely. And just say a huge thank you for this incredibly warm welcome. It's been a long 2 years, or almost 2 years, without Twitter or X or whatever the kids are calling it these days. So I guess I got a lot to learn. I got a lot to catch up on. Anyways, it's great to be back. Thank you so much. As we get ready to head into the holidays, I just want to wish you all the happiest of holidays, a very Merry Christmas. I hope you're all surrounded by the people who absolutely love you the most. I still have some conditions with the things that I can say on social media. So there is still those parameters. However, I still look at this as a huge win and a step in the right direction. I'm very excited for what's going to come in 2024. I think there's so much reason to be hopeful for this country. And yeah, thanks a million. Clyde, Merry Christmas, buddy.
Merry Christmas.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, and hopefully we have a good one. I'm sure we will. Tamara, thank you so much. And everybody out there, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to every single one of you guys out there. This is amazing. I love seeing this, you know, the news when it comes out, and it's good news finally for Tamara. And of course, the trial is going on right now, and hopefully that turns out, well, I mean, we're all pretty confident that they got nothing. They got nothing on her and Chris. What do you do about this? And of course, we're calling it lawfare. It's the idea that the what happened to my chat? It's the idea that the actual procedure, the process is the punishment, and this is what they've been doing. I am looking forward to communicating with you guys all the lawsuit that is coming for the federal government and the Ottawa police and everyone involved in the haranguing and the harassing of Tamara Lich, Chris Barber, and of course the Coots 4, those guys, and anyone else who's been harassed and harangued by our government over all of this stuff. Just standing up for your rights. What is it? You know, oh, you want your rights? Have we been overreaching? I'll show you overreaching, and that's what they've been doing. Absolutely. Don Wickenden, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, gifting 5 memberships to the channel. Thank you so much. And everybody in there that got a new membership, please give a big old thank you to Dawn. Big time. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Holy cow, everyone is so generous tonight. It is, I guess, that time of year. It's amazing. People come out and lend tons and tons of support. Now, I've had the privilege of meeting Tamara several times, and the last time we met in person, I was able to give her a gift of my own, and that was the hoodie. And my chat keeps messing up on me tonight. But yeah, that's the hoodie. Go check them out. You can get one of your own. She got the very first one, and nobody's ever asked me to sign anything before, and that was really cool. Thank you so much, Tamara. That was really cool. It was awesome to have you in the neighborhood and coming out. And you're always on the road. You're always traveling. It's amazing to see. Let's get that chat back in here. Come on. All right, let's get into some of this. Well, I wanted to talk about some of these things because it is just what is happening with our country. What is happening? We've got here the Liberal Food. Merry Christmas from the Liberal Food Bank. Yeah, that's right. Canada is going through some pains right now, and it's because of, and people made fun of Justin Trudeau before for the, you know, we'll just put a lot of money out there and then the budget will balance itself. Invest in infrastructure and then the budget will balance itself. Yeah, people made fun of that. It was funny for a minute because we were doing good. We were doing all right. We were doing pretty decent here in Canada at the time because we had good, strong fiscal policies. We had great lending practices in the country. And then what happens? Well, we get a liberal government. And when the liberal government comes in, they come in with all kinds of nonsense and spending money like you have never seen before. And this is where we are, and 8 years of this, and now the food bank is probably the biggest grocery store in Canada at the moment. And this is really where we're at. Are we still listening to the fire? Yeah, the fire is going. Wow. I can hear the crackling. I'm just going to keep that on there. I love this. I love the sound of that. But in the meantime, I did this video. This is going to be a weird Inception video. I put this out on Twitter. I'm going to start doing this. I'm going to put out some like short stuff, but Twitter exclusive stuff. So if you're not following yet already over on Twitter, get over there, give us a follow, and or you can see more of this stuff. But it blows my mind that the liberals, they come out and they say stuff like this as if like, what? And this is in their ads. This is like from their official Twitter page.
Now, that's not serious. The Conservative Party keeps voting against funding for housing. If we're up to them, we would not be here today.
We would not be in the largest housing crisis in Canadian history. Yeah, absolutely. We wouldn't be here today if it was for if the Conservatives were in power. We wouldn't be here today. Thanks. I'm glad we squared that one away. I'm definitely glad we squared that one away, because, you know, it would be horrible if we were in maybe another situation, perhaps like financially solvent. Perhaps. I mean, I laugh about this and people give me grief for laughing about this. I mean, it's my coping mechanism. It's the only way I know what to do. It's the only way I know how to deal with this, is to point it out and go, are you nuts? Are you nuts? What are you talking about? This is just ridiculous. I can't believe that these are the things that this Prime Minister says. It is just, it's just unbelievable. But anyway, yeah, I'll be putting more of those out on Twitter, because the popularity of the Liberals these days is not doing so hot. We had a petition that went out and it's been growing. And this is a petition to call for a vote of no confidence. For those who don't understand what this means, if they vote no confidence, it's not like the United States, it's not like other countries where they have a set date and time, that's when the election is. We do have that. It's possible, you know, after X amount of days, then we go into an election. But before that, we can have early elections, and it usually comes in the form of a vote of non-confidence. Now, there's a big petition that went out asking for them to specifically do that, vote on whether or not there's confidence in the government. Now, where that petition is at right now, and this is no, like, you know, it's not some like weirdo website petition. No, this is a proper petition from the government of Canada. This is the House of Commons. This is official. This is official. And somebody had to bring it up, and then someone had to sponsor it. So this is initiated by Melissa Outwater from Peterborough, Ontario. Thank you so much, Melissa. And it's been sponsored by Michelle Fieri, her MP. And it's at 377,743 signature. This is great. It's great to see this. This is the most signed petition in Canadian history, as far as I'm aware. This is what I've been hearing. I don't know. I haven't gone through and seen all the other petitions, but I have seen there have been some big ones, but this is by far the biggest one. And I'm hearing through the grapevine that this is the largest there has ever been. It'd be great to see it hit 4K before the 24th when this is up. And so December 24th is the day that it's up. The Frozen Canadian with another $13.99 super chat. Wobbly Pops, thank you so much. I'm having some Wobbly Pops this evening myself. Enjoy yours. And thank you so very much for the super chat. Appreciate that. And yeah, I hope that we can get to 400,000 on this. I was reading the House of Parliament, the House of Commons website at one point, talking about petitions, and on average, annually they get about 500,000 signatures on all petitions. So this one might beat out like last year's petition signers entirely. The Maple Leaf Forever with a $5 super chat. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this one. Everyone go sign the petition if you haven't already. P.S. Merry Christmas, Clyde. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I'm going to leave, hopefully the link isn't too large that I can't put it in the chat down below. There it is. There it is. Go sign that petition. Thank you. Thank you so much. The Maple Leaf Forever. Really appreciate that. Wow. What was I doing? I was looking. Oh, Frozen Canadian here says, you had me at hello. Yeah, appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. So this is big news, because so does that mean that they're going to vote non-confidence? Not necessarily. No, not necessarily. But what it does guarantee is that they have to bring it up, and they have to bring it up in front of everybody. This petition that this many signatures has seen. It could make news, and we could, you know, shout it from the rooftops on social media that the largest petition of all time was to get rid of Trudeau, get him out of office, and get us into a new government. Because, well, at the end of the day, it's looking like we're going to have a conservative government at the end of the day. If we have an election tomorrow, if we have one in the spring, it's going conservative. That's where it's going. Now, does this mean the conservatives are going to be the do-all, end-all? Canada's just going to be hunky-dory. Everything's going to be great. Everything's going to go back to the way it used to be. It's all going to be, you know, sunshine, lollipops, rainbows everywhere. No, that doesn't mean that. It means our work has just begun. Because our work here, from this perspective, from where we're sitting, from where we are, our job here now is to change the culture. We need to change the culture and move things more towards real liberalism, real classical liberalism. People call it libertarianism now. This concept, a lot of people are holding their nose, poo-poo, and vote Pierre because they don't like Trudeau. What I think is, it's not about the personality or the person that gets into office. What I think is we're at a precipice in time, in our history, in our nation, where we tried out socialism. We tried out this idea of collective goodies for everybody. We tried out this idea of you know, social security. Hey, guess what? It's a big old Ponzi scheme, and it's collapsing on us. It's collapsing on us, and the only thing that they have to offer us in exchange for what they've promised is more promises and more broken promises, more agony in the future. And what they're trying to do, and I mean, look at it right now. The economy's in shambles. It doesn't look like they're going to be able to pay pensioners in the future. And the way they think that they're going to pay them is by importing a whole bunch of new taxpayers. That's the story. That's really what's going on. It's ludicrous when you look at the just sheer numbers of people that they're bringing in. We have here, and I'm not anti-immigration. Believe me, my parents are immigrants. My wife's an immigrant. I've immigrated to countries. I'm really pro-immigration. But 430,000 people in 3 months? Really? And I'm not getting the statistic from some far-right website. This is CTV. This is CTV. This is what's happening here in the country. Louise A. King with a $5 super chat. It's not the person, it's the platform. Merry Christmas, Clyde. Thank you so much, Louis A. King. Is it Louise or Louis? Iron Pelvis with a $2 super chat. I need help supporting Adamson's barbecue. Okay. Well, thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate that. But yeah, well, people say that this is the great replacement. Well, what are they replacing? I don't think it's an ethnic thing for any means. What I think is that they've promised a whole bunch of stuff, and the only way they can deliver is with this Ponzi scheme. They got to bring more people in. That'll be more tax base, and it's going to ruin it. It's going to ruin us because, I mean, what have we seen? What have we seen in the last few years? Surrey just had a referendum of people that wanted to form their own country of Khalistan. I mean, this is the reality of just bringing in mass amounts of people and them not coming in wanting to become Canadian. This is the way it goes. This is 430 just in the last quarter. 430,000 people just between July to October, from July to October. So that's July, August, September, 3 months. That many people came into the country. But this is what they're doing. And I hate when people want to say like, well, you know, because they'll turn it into a racism thing. I don't think it's a racism thing. I love people from all walks, colors, creeds, all of that stuff. I think, come on over. I want to say the more the merrier, but holy cow, that's more. You know, that's more. No, always within reason, and of course, always with the benefit. You know, people that want to come and benefit our society and become part of our society and want to benefit from it as well. contributors to all of this. Northern Perspective with the $5 super chat. Merry Christmas, everyone from Cypher and Fox. Merry Christmas to you both. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate that. If you guys have time on Wednesday, I think it's at 9:30 Eastern time. They're going to be doing a big old live stream. I'll be joining it. Marty up north will be joining it. A bunch of other Canadian creators that have been talking about all kinds of stuff here in news and politics and all that stuff are going to be joining over there. That's on Wednesday the 27th. So don't forget that. Don't miss out. Join us, and we'll be all hanging out together for that very special between Christmas and New Year's live stream. Excuse me. Jalinda Fro. Oh, I'm gonna brutalize your last name here, Jalinda. I'm sorry. Jalinda Lich. Oh man, I can't do it. But thank you so much for the $13.99 super chat. We need to flood that petition. Can't wait to see them bring up in the House of Commons. Get that derp out of the PMO. Absolutely. He is a derp. He's a total derp. Oh, man. I haven't heard that word in a minute. That's great. Yeah, he's a derp. But thank you so very much. Yes, we need to fix the situation because we just can't have... We can't just keep going. And here's the problem. There's a huge amount of people that want to leave Canada because of it. Now, I covered this story last week, or it was just in this past week. The days are bleeding together, folks. They're bleeding together. You can't see with the words on the screen. This is from Better Dwelling. Canadians flee the country in the 4th highest volume in 73 years. And this is per capita. There's just massive amounts of people are leaving the country. A little bit on the data points here. Well, you can see the graph and the trend is going upwards. Canadians are fleeing at an unusually rapid rate. Canada is set to have a banger of a year when it comes to resident outflows. Resident outflows is a nice way of saying emigration or people leaving the country. There were 74,017 immigrants year to date. Immigrants being people leaving. Already hitting 79% of the total last year. The final quarter of 2023 can come in lower than the previous 2 years and still print one of the biggest years ever for outflows. Canada outflows have largely been ignored since record population growth obfuscates it. Most policymakers would point to the net increase as a reason to ignore the issue. However, this dismisses the important point that is beginning to surface. If the people most familiar with a country don't see opportunity, how long can it attract immigrants? And I've been saying this for a while now. I think that the real crisis is going to come in the point where they open the doors wide open and nobody comes. Like, that's really where it's going to get here in Canada, because there's going to be no opportunity for people. Why would people come when there's no opportunity? If people knew that people coming to this country were forced to sleep out in tents in the wintertime, do you think they would come? Do you think they would be coming? I don't think so. Steve's Hyde with a $5 super chat. I understand people wanting to leave, but come on, guys, at least wait till spring. Yeah, well, this is a thing. This is really a thing. I came to Canada as an immigrant with my parents in 1964. I'm now 67, and I see a beautiful country being destroyed by such an narcissistic sociopath, idealist, authoritarian man-child. Absolutely. That's what he is. It's what he is. Unreal. I don't know how to pronounce that. Is that Elkie Stanley? Or is it just Elk Stanley? Thank you for that message. This is what people need to really be sharing. So, I mean, I know in those giant groups of people, there's going to be some great people coming to Canada. And those people, like, great. I'm glad to have them. But during a housing crisis, do you think that's a responsible thing to be doing, is bringing that massive number of people into the country when people can't even find homes? And they're talking about They're talking about building wartime homes, and that is just not working out. Anyway, let's get into this, because I put out a poll on Twitter and then also on YouTube. I wanted to get people's opinions, because this is what's happening right now. So I put in here, I'll get the chat out of the way so you can see this. Overwhelming theme in the comments to my recent video about mass emigration, so Canadians leaving Canada, is that if people could, for whatever reason, would leave Canada. If you could, what would you do? Now, a majority of people here said that they would leave. A majority of the people did. FTJ, member for 4 months. Happy Christmas. Thank you so much. Saying in that British fashion, Happy Christmas. That's amazing. Thank you so much. Newbie431 gifting 5 memberships to the channel. Everybody get in there and thank Newbie for that. Thank you so much, Newbie431. Appreciate that. Thank you. That's great. But so this is you know, okay, so yeah, there's 1,321 votes on this. 79% of respondents said they would leave. They would leave Canada. The Frozen Canadian with another $13.99 super chat. Thank you so much. You're really getting in the ballpark of over generous now. Thank you though. Honk honk for baby Jesus. Yeah, he's the reason for the season. Everybody, you really got to know this. Some people actually don't know this. Christmas is about Jesus's birthday. That's the thing. When I was growing up, we didn't do a whole lot of the corporate Christmas stuff. My parents really wanted to make sure that we knew that was the reason for Christmas. So it was all about the nativity. It was all about the original reason for it. Yes, Jesus Christ's birthday on December 25th. I mean, there's a lot of history. We don't really know what exactly his birthday was, but great time because, you know, for many over the centuries, many different peoples would celebrate right around the winter solstice. So it was a great time. The dawn of a new king. Is how people would see the end of the days getting shorter. So when the days started getting longer, this was the celebration of the dawn of a new king. And what an appropriate time to celebrate the birth of Christ. Absolutely. So getting back to this, 79% of the respondents. Now, a lot of comments. I got ratioed on this one. Slight ratio. I tend to get ratioed on polls like this, but that's fine. I moved to Japan. Oh, wait. Yeah. So, yeah, I have lived in Japan before. But a large number of the respondents, I found, were saying don't leave. People don't leave. And I get it. So I also put it on YouTube, because there's always a bigger polling number on YouTube. My Twitter's not that big. So 8,300 people voted. 80% are saying leave Canada. They would leave Canada if they could. If it was financially available to them, if this was the thing, this is what they would choose. Now, again, in the comments, very, very split. A lot of people saying, don't do it. A lot of people saying, you're a coward if you leave. You're an absolute coward. Why would you leave? You know, other people saying, run for the hills. This place is going down. Other people saying, no, just hold out. We can bring this back. So I wanted to get your opinions out there, because I don't like black pills. I don't like the whole idea of saying, no, we can't win this one, because yes, we got an uphill fight. We've got an uphill battle in this whole thing, this whole idea of, and I really break it down to a few core principles. I'm a first principles guy. I like to look at the way people look at economic or political systems. It's hard to differentiate the difference between an economic and a political system. Don Wickenden with another 5 gifted memberships to the channel. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Get in the comments and thank Don for the gifted membership if you got one. Thank you, Don. Thank you. I like to look back at first principles. This is the whole concept of first principles, is to look at an ideology or look at a way that people feel about, and again, I have a hard time discerning political ideology from economic principles, and a lot of them stem together. Now, of course, socialism was an economic policy. That was an economic policy, and they made it a political ideology because it was just a failure of an economic policy. The idea of liberalism, classical liberalism, the idea of what they call libertarianism now, minimal government and maximum freedom to the individual, every bit of this, all of these different ideologies, they all circle around one common theme that you can find a lot of commonalities, but when you reduce it to the very lowest common denominator, I find that property rights and upholding the law are the two things that are most necessary when it comes to these ideologies. Demogorgon Ramsey with a $15 super chat. I could reconsider my answer from that poll once the shit-stained Trudeau is out of office. Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people would reconsider that as well. But like I said, getting Pierre Poilievre into office is not going to be the do-all, end-all, and the fix-all. I mean, they did just vote on a thing to limit people's ability to surf the web with with their ID, having to provide ID for things. And I know it's like, just think of the children. Yeah, that's usually the way we get it, and we'll get it from both sides. But I actually have to look into that one more before I can fully comment on that. But my knee-jerk reaction is to always say maximum amount of freedom, maximum amount of rights to the individual, not to collectives. Now, getting back to this idea of first principles and the idea of property rights, the reason why I think that property rights is the big crux, and this is the difference, and I think this is the way to win people over. Forget about the rhetoric. Forget about all of the rhetoric of the right and the rhetoric of the left. You have people they'll always say things like, oh, well, what about this, this case and this extreme case, and they'll try to bend you over or pull you over with sophistry, I guess, in this kind of thing. But I look at it in the sense of property rights. Socialists do not believe in property rights when it comes down to it. I mean, David Lametti said it best. He said, Canadians ultimately do not have a right to property. Now, if you believe that and you think that that's a good way to go, well, we'll just keep going down this road. But the unwavering truth of the matter is markets can't function when that's a reality. People don't invest in things that they don't have equity in. Now, the equity of things would be the fact that they put money, or they put time and effort into a thing, and then they get to own that thing. The fruits of their labor is you get to keep the fruits of your labor. I mean, when you can actualize something out of nothing, then that's when people will actually put that effort into something. Whether you're making a business or you're making a widget or you're making things, it doesn't matter. You're building your own house, this kind of thing. If people at the end of the day feel that, well, at the end of the day, the government could just take it away from me for whatever reason, arbitrary reason of the political, popular guy who's in office at the time, well, then people would be more hesitant towards putting that much effort into building stuff. Pit Sky P with a $10 super chat. Why did you name your channel Clyde Do Something? Merry Christmas, everybody. Interesting story. I'll nail that one real fast. Thanks for the super chat, by the way. I'll nail it right after this other super chat. I'm Justin Trudeau. I'm voting for Pierre with the $5 super chat. I love when people mess with their names on the bio. That's hilarious. Who do you think is paying for Sophie to vacation with Trudeau? That's probably going to be the taxpayer, and they're going to find some loophole to figure out how to make that happen. I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it. But yeah, the name of the channel, it's an interesting story. So I've been doing YouTube for a decade. I did how-to DIY stuff, a bit of comedy. I've worked with other people doing social commentary and stuff like that. And then I got into the production side of things, and live streaming and whatnot. Now you find yourself working with different people over different times, and one group of the people that I was working with, it was just people talking and doing stuff, and it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work to do the production, and everybody else would just kind of be there. And so the joke was, because everybody knew that I was doing the whole production, but I was also part of it, and more and more that became apparent. People would make the joke, say in the comments, "Hey Clyde, do something. Hey Clyde, why don't you do something?" And that was a funny thing. Iron Pelvis with a $10 super chat. Good court cases coming up by Adamson Barbecue versus Ford. I don't know that. I'm gonna have to look into that. Let me copy and paste that to my clipboard here. And get that going. So it became just kind of a joke. And if you've ever heard of the Pareto principle, it's this idea that, and this is, I'll get into this too, about the whole immigration and ideology thing. The Pareto principle is this idea that, like, 20% of all the work is done by, 80% of all the work is done by 20% of the people doing the work or working on that thing. And so, it kind of went that way. So I've always just kind of been a workhorse, get things done, that kind of thing. And people saw that, so they'd be like joking with me, "Clyde, why don't you do something? Hey, Clyde, why don't you do something?" And then I didn't know what to call my channel because I was rebranding. It was called Clyde's Soapbox before. That wasn't very catchy. So I was rebranding. I didn't know what to call it, and I just, as a joke, typed in "Clyde, do something," and then it stuck. And that's where it's at. So that's all I gotta say about that. Joe with the $20 super chat, thank you so much. As a third-gen Canadian at 65 years old, I will stay and fight to make Canada great again. The only thing I am Canadian, and I want to see is skid marks from Trudeau's ass leaving Canada. Yeah, absolutely. Joe, thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate that. Linda Hunter, member for 11 months, says, "Have fun with your family, Clyde. Great work." Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I didn't get the 07 thing. I now it makes sense that it's a salute. I like that. I like that a lot. That's really cool. Merry Christmas, chat and Clyde. Thank you, Prairie Farm Girl. I appreciate that. But yeah, let's get back to that. So it really comes down to whether or not you believe property rights are a thing that should be upheld. Do you think that it's better for the collective to take away your rights to property? And property rights are, they go more than just things. And we've dealt with this in recent history, because property rights extend to more than just your possessions. Property rights extend to yourself. You have the right to the ownership of yourself, of your body, of yourself, your person, your psyche. You are the driver and owner, operator of a human meat suit, and it's yours and it's nobody else's, and that's it. And nobody has ownership over you. Now, government was an experiment. This whole idea of governance is an experiment, because we know that violence is a thing in nature, and this experiment was to say that people can't use violence to arbitrate a situation. If somebody's done something to you, you can't use violence to get your way back, or your way on things. You can't do that. And what people have come to the consensus on was, or it did at a moment, and we decide, when, you know, this is the social contract, I suppose, is that government will be formed and they'll have a monopoly of violence. And this is what everybody kind of, I mean, when people first realize this, the state is essentially that. A government is a monopoly of violence. It's a thing that we've all said or come to an agreement on, that they're the only ones that are allowed to use violence on people in order to do things. Now, what they do with that violence and how they use it, well, that determines whether or not they're a just society, right? G. Meister, member for 18 months. I can't believe it's been 18 months. That's amazing. Merry Christmas to all F Trudeau and stay in Canada. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, I'd love to see everybody stay in Canada. I would love that. I would love that. But yeah, getting back to this. So government is a monopoly of violence. So they're able to use that, and that's what they use. At the end of the day, if you don't pay your taxes, if you don't do a thing that they ask you to do, they'll take that long arm of the state, right? They call it that. They use that violence to make sure that you do the thing. And if you don't do the thing, then they'll put you in a cage. John Klassen with the $20 super chat. Clyde, do something. Thank you for the info and Merry Christmas. I was a keyboard warrior during the convoy, and I had to use my boyfriend's phone because mine will not allow me to chat on YouTube. You rock. All right, John's girlfriend. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you for the super chat. That's really nice. And I'm glad I can help, because this is my mission. Because I mean, I get it. Like I was talking about the convoy at the time. Now these are all ideas that I've been reading about and stewing over for decades. And I did my content on YouTube, and I would, I'm going to do DIY because I'm a mechanic. I'm going to teach people how to do things and do it in an entertaining, fun way. But I always ended up back to political philosophy and economics and, just news and politics. And it would always find me. It would always come back and it would always find me. And so when the convoy happened, I was so enamored by it. I was super in support of it that I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't shift my focus onto other things for the sake of content. I just had to blab about all the things that I think about this whole scenario and what was happening in Canada and what's happening today still. So this is where it goes. This is how this all began and where we're going from here. Clyde Fix, if you know, you know. Clyde Fix, are you talking about Chris Fix? He's another YouTuber. That's the thing. Yeah, so I'm not interested in doing automotive content. I'm interested in talking about the things that matter to me the most, and that's political philosophy, news, politics. Thanks for everything you do, Clyde. Merry Christmas. Thank you, Smarty Smart. I love that name, Smarty Smart. To make himself money. Tizzy. I'm not sure what that was in reference to. To make money. I'm not sure what that's in reference to. I like making content, but yeah, definitely the thing here is about the interest that I have. And the reason why I'm able to do this so often, I could do it every single day, is because this is what really drives me. And yeah, getting back to it, it really is, in my opinion, about first principles and the idea of property rights extending to self-ownership and a real belief that you own yourself and you own the fruits of your labor. And yes, we may get together and we may put together a form of governance And, you know, taxation always becomes the first thing in that governance. Well, if you believe in property rights fundamentally, then taxation would at some point become a form of theft. Well, that's the violence of the state. That's what it's doing. It's taking. Now, to what degree do we tolerate that? And that's really what it comes down to. You know, we can tolerate some, but at a certain point, then it becomes intolerable. And we're getting to that so quickly here in Canada, to the intolerable point. And I'm going to be bringing on somebody who has seen it as very much intolerable and has made drastic decisions on how he's going to go about dealing with tolerating that. Of course, my guest tonight, you all know him, and I'm just going to slowly work on getting him in here so he can join the stream. But you all know him as Marty up north on on Twitter. And he tweets way more than I possibly ever could. But of course, I do a lot of YouTube content, so we each put our focus where we think we can put it. But I know he shares a lot of these ideas, and I'd like to actually pick his brain, because we both kind of come from the libertarian camp, the libertarian side of things, and I want to pick his brain tonight about this, because property rights is something that I talk about quite often. I think it's an ongoing theme on this channel, and something that I like to bring up. Because I think it's paramount to a free society. I think it's paramount to economics, and you can't have you just cannot have an economy without, or a market economy without respect for property rights. And it's really hard to back away from that one. That's kind of that's my hill. That's the one that I'll die on. Everybody has theirs. But let's, without further ado, I'll get to this final super chat that's in here before bringing Marty on. We have here G Meister with a $10.99 super chat. He says, I think our government needs to change to be more like the US. We need more checks and balances, such as a Congress determining where the money goes instead of one corrupt party and ultimately our prime minister. I'm not going to disagree. Who brought it up with me just yesterday said, would you be interested in a Republican Party in Canada? And I didn't even consider that, but I think, why not? Because I'm a fan of republics and how they're formulated and put together as a system of governance. And that could be something that might possibly... Why don't we just ask Marty himself? Let's bring him in here. Marty up north, thanks for joining me tonight on the live show.
Clyde, how's it going, man?
It's going great, man. It's going great. It's
that fireplace of yours is just roaring. It's almost as good as the one I had last night when I was in the bush.
You can hear that, right? I love the sound.
I can hear it.
I love the sound, and it pulls you in. It's enticing. It makes you feel warm inside, and you're like, hey, let's just have a chat. It's a fireside chat. I started it off with Christmas music. I was being so hokey today on the live stream, but why not? Why not? We'll just pop that in there.
Hey, just while I think we're going to stay on the topic. I was listening to you in the background there, and you know who's an interesting libertarian is Gillette. You know Penn and Teller?
Yeah, Penn Jillette.
Yeah, Penn Jillette.
Your audio just got really watered. You're in a.
Hang on.
Oh yeah, you're good.
Is it this one?
Yep, that's the one. Yeah.
Okay.
You're on your good mic.
Yeah, so Penn Jillette is a famous libertarian, and he has some nice videos on YouTube and other places. And he says he's skeptical of power, and he explains why he's a libertarian. And while you were talking, I was trying to find his video and I couldn't find it, but I remember one time he was explaining it just like you said, right? The government decides for you, and if you disagree with the government, they come after you with power and force. And then he gives a great example of, I might disagree with going to this library or building this library, and the government can say, well, it doesn't matter. You're paying taxes to build this library. And he talks about literally that was the pivotal moment for him as a young adult. He realized, well, I don't want to pay for that library, and then he realized he was a libertarian. So I consider myself a libertarian. I mean, and I simplify it to people. I'm all about small government. Just get the hell out of my life and let me make decisions for myself, because I know better about making decisions for myself. Do I come together as a society, and do we help each other, and then do we contribute as a group to some causes? Absolutely. Let's say, broadly speaking, tribes in the good old days, we come together and we defend each other because we're allies. We might contribute to a school together, but beyond that, we've gotten ridiculous. I mean, that I would have to provide for whatever, your childcare, even though I don't have kids, whereas you have to provide for my old parents even though you don't have parents, and it just goes on and on and on. So anyway.
No, I absolutely agree. I think that yeah. And like I said, I'm a first principles guy. I go from the base principle. We all agree that it's stealing from somebody is wrong. It's immoral. Yep. Now, that being said, I'm not an anarchist. Like, there are people out there that call themselves, anarcho-capitalists. They believe that, they want no government. But I feel that if there's no government whatsoever, then you'll have a vacuum, a power vacuum, and someone's going to come in, and it's usually a tyrant that comes in and takes the place there. And then you're left with no rights at that point. So there's this necessary evil of having a system put in place, and this is why I'm a fan of republics. It's because it breaks up the power into so many places where they're all clamoring for that power because it's human nature, but they don't have enough to actually wield anything. So they have to work together, and they don't want to work together, and that's the beautiful part of the system. It took 300 years for them to finally get together and consolidate that power. And this is I think a time in history where that power consolidation's occurred, and it's our job to break it up again. But we're not going to break it up on our own. We need to convince other people that that's the right move to make now.
Yeah, no, well, close to home. I am, would I like to see Canada turn into a republic? I absolutely would, but as an alternate step, or as an intermediate step, I'd just like us to respect the darn Constitution we have. I mean, we're a constitutional monarchy. And right now, the monarchy doesn't do anything for us, and neither does the Constitution. So do we need to completely reinvent and become a republic? Sure, perhaps we should. But in the meantime, we could make our lives a hell of a lot better in this country if we just simply respected our damn Constitution. That's the thought. I mean, we look south to the U.S. The U.S. is a republic, but it's not because the U.S. is a republic that they're so great. I think the U.S. as an example are great because of their document, because of their Constitution, the way it's written, and the fact that they respect that Constitution. I mean, you and I talked on Wednesday. I'm rambling a little bit, but I dug into this, what happened to Trump in Colorado this week. Mm-hmm. And it's the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. And when you see this debate going on right now, 200 years after the Constitution, you go, man, those guys were brilliant because they anticipated these kinds of things and they put it in there. So are the U.S. great because of their republic, or just great because they have that amazing, Charter of Rights, Constitution? I think a constitutional monarchy like we have could work if we somehow or other respected the damn Constitution and our monarch was somebody with balls. But
that's fair. We'll I mean, I could get into the semantics of my argumentation here, but it doesn't really affect the point that we're getting at. Because I've been talking with Vesper a lot, and he's been digging into the actual workings of the real wonky workings of how Parliament works and where the power actually lies in the structure. And if you look at it, it has big flaws in it that lead to people being able to take advantage. Total basically amnesty from prosecutorial things for corruption and things like that. So That's sort of my. It doesn't really lend to the what we're talking about.
Even earlier in the show, you were talking about this petition that's circulating in a non-confidence vote, and that's the thing that's supposed to exist in our system. And I can't think of the last time there was a non-confidence vote that actually worked. Right? It's like they find a way to blow them off or whatever. They find too many loopholes, but we'll see what happens with this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna get to a couple of these super chats here. Got Carla S for $6.99. She says, "Merry Christmas, Clyde and Marty up north." Merry Christmas, right back at you.
Merry Christmas.
Sees the day for $2.79 says, "This money is given, not made. Merry Christmas." Absolutely. There's a few more I gotta scroll up to. Merry Christmas from Don Wickenden. He's for $5. He says, "Merry Christmas, Marty and family."
Merry Christmas, thank you.
Robert McFallen for $20 says, "Marty is the absolute best. I love his insightful tweets. Awesome Canadian patriot legend." Awesome, you're getting lots of praise in the chat here tonight, Marty. And we have a couple more here. We got Ann Madgett with $2.79 super chat. "Merry Christmas to you and yours." Thank you so much. How do you pronounce that? Margardia? I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Margardia Cardoso with a $2 super chat. "Love your weekly shows. Super informative. Thank you so much." Thank you so very much. It's amazing. I love doing this. I love having you on, Marty, but this is the first time I've had you on live. This is a
on live.
experience.
Yeah, and I kind of wish I could see the tweets right now, or not the tweets, but the chat. Or how do I see it? Or would I have to log on and watch on YouTube separately?
Yeah. Do you have a separate YouTube window that you can open up?
My computer, Clyde. I'm just going to leave it this way. I mean, I figured out I figured out a trick with my computer. One of the things that I did with my computer. The other thing is I turn off the synchronization between my my cloud. So when I'm on a show like this, I turn it off, and that seems to free up some space. For the viewers who don't know, Marty lives kind of in the country, and he's got some very, very slow internet.
And an older computer. Yeah. Well, you got some more RAM on there. You probably pull it off.
No, the computer's new. The computer's new, but it's just not. It's not a gaming machine, state of the art. It's a lousy whatever $799 computer kind of thing. So
you know how to pop how to pop the chat out, do you?
What do you mean?
So if you have a YouTube window open, you can just you hit the three little dots and it says pop up the chat, and then you can put it at like another window, and just have it over our talking here.
It'll be too distracting. I'll
let
you. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna hit
old school. Marty's old school.
Hit a couple more of these super chats. Gary Krell with a $20 super chat. Didn't say anything, but thank you so much for that. Penny D with a $5 super chat. "Hi, Marty. Love watching you and Clyde together. Have a fantastic Christmas." Well, Penny D, if you love watching us together, you gotta watch Marty on his channel, and you gotta go check out his Twitter, because he's on there more than anyone I know. When I'm looking for one of your older tweets, I get lost in your timeline. There's so much on there. It's amazing.
Call Vesper. He's good at finding old tweets.
Yeah.
Whether they're Rachel Notley's or Justin Trudeau's or my own. I've actually called him. I'm like, dude, I can't find an old tweet. Can you find it? And I only have a year's worth of tweets. Like, he's finding 10. I mean, he's dug up some good ones on Rachel Notley, Trudeau, Chrystia Freeland. The internet's forever, folks. And even if you delete it off the internet, there's places where it stays, and it's there forever.
I don't know if you saw that clip with Chrystia Freeland when she was asked how her and her family relates with the economic situation right now. Like, the one that she caused. She's the finance minister.
Yeah, she's not going to say, "Well, I've started buying no name whatever craft dinner." Yeah, no, she didn't answer very well. I mean, if you ask my wife that question, she'd tell you immediately a whole bunch of things that we've had to do, to adjust to the cost of living. I mean, I used to have a rule with my wife. It's like, I'm not fussy on food. You can buy the no-name peanut butter and stuff like that, but don't buy no-name cheese. Well, we're down to no-name cheese right now.
No-name cheese. Oh, you don't get what is that? I don't even know the name brands anymore.
Well, I like good cheese, right? I mean, and not that Kraft is good cheese. If I had my choice, it's one of my little vices. I'd tell her to go to the nice section of the, the deli section of the restaurant or the grocery store and buy nice cheeses. But right now we're down to shitty cheese and shitty ice cream, and it's not even ice cream. I think it's called ice water now, or milk, or ice milk, or something. I don't know what it is, but it's like it's
shitty ice cream. Oh, I don't eat ice cream very often, so when I do, I get Haagen-Dazs because I don't eat very much of it, and then it's not very often, so like it's a real treat. I like the I like the good one. But yeah, you get like a little tiny tub for like $8. It's
oof.
It's
no, we're buying the I don't know, like it's the Walmart brand of like, it's a big white tub, and it doesn't say ice cream on there. It says ice milk or something like that. It's got a lot of what would make it like that? A lot of cornstarch and a lot of whatever gelatin and milk, and it's not ice cream.
Fair enough. Don Wickend with another super chat, giving his specs for his PC. He says Z69OE Strix, 128 gigabytes of RAM with 13.9 or 13.9K. I refuse to suffer lag. I'm a bit the same. I've got the Ryzen 5950X it's still B450 motherboard, but I have 64 gigs of RAM and a 3070. That's a decent PC, but I'm running it on fiber, so it's fast.
Yeah. I mean, I'm connected on. I am connected on fiber. I'm in the country, but then also, I'm transmitting. I'm not connected directly to my modem, so I have this. The modem comes in on a coax, but then I'm from my computer to the modem is whatever is Wi-Fi, and then we, I've done the tests. I'm slow, so it's not my computer. I think even if you put your computer here, it's the download speed that's. In the good old days, I mean, I remember like I went on Shaw, so I'm on Shaw right now, and the jump over was about 4 years ago at the height of COVID, when all my sons came home, and then I'd hear this cursing upstairs because they were doing all the schooling remotely, right? And finally, I bit the bullet and I upgraded. And I remember, like, prior to upgrading, when I made videos, I had to make videos that were in low definition, because it would take about it would take like 2 days for a video to upload to YouTube.
Really?
Like the speed is Mbps. I don't know what it stands for.
Megabytes per second.
Yeah, I was at 5
megabytes per second.
Yeah. So if I had a 2 gigabyte video of one of my hikes, it would take 48 hours to upload. Wow. And I'd be telling fingers crossed, like, don't anybody turn on Netflix because I'm not starting over. Now it takes about 2 hours. It's a huge improvement, but it's not your computer. You probably load a 3 gigabyte video to the internet in about right?
Takes no
15
time.
Takes
no time.
Yeah.
Like my speeds are measured in gigabytes per second. Fiber. So I have.
That's the advantage of living in BC, man. You guys have better infrastructure.
Well,
I guess.
It's I think it's about not even a decade we've had fiber where I live. So
yeah,
but it comes right here, and then I've got the modem, and then I'm hardwired right into the computer. So it is really quick. Yeah. I got another one from Gary Krell for $10. Says, "Okay, I figured it out. Survival Lily from Australia is a good girl to follow from. Austria. Would love to have you reach out to her, Clyde. She's talking about the digital ID being enforced there." Thank you for the super chat, by the way, and I would like to look into Survival Lily for sure. Today we're at the supermarket and we're waiting in line, and we check out all their stuff, and their system was down. So we bought all this food that we're gonna have my parents over for Christmas, and they're like, "Oh, sorry, we'll try it," and the Visa card wouldn't go through. And luckily, we're the type of people, we have cash on us.
Oh, good for you.
It took all our cash that we had on us. It was like $200 for a couple of meals for Christmas, and that was all.
Actually, did you see the tweet? We didn't talk about it the other day. I made a tweet. I had the lowest ATM transaction ever. I had a 3-cent transaction. So what?
I did see that.
You did see that?
Yeah.
So the cashless society is annoying. I went to I was using a gift card. I was doing Christmas shopping, but I had a gift card. I happened to be and I used it on something I needed at a Home Depot, and what I bought was 3 cents more than my gift card. And so, and I'm standing in line and I'm looking at everybody. He's like, does anybody have a nickel or 3 cents? I need 3 cents. And the girl, the cashier, didn't know how to override the whole system. And she's like, sorry, sir, you need to pay 3 cents. I took out my debit card and I swiped it for 3 freaking cents. If it had been 2 cents, it would have rolled down to 0. Right? I don't know. I was like, don't they round up and round down like 3? Like, anyways,
they round up to the nearest 5. So 3 cents is 5.
Yeah. So because it was 3 cents.
Yeah. Anyways, if it was 2, it would have been on the house.
I was like, that's like, I'm sure if I look in if my wife had been with me, she would have had 3 cents in her purse somewhere. But
I had to say it because so we had some pitas we had to put back. We had a pack of pitas because we were just like, we had $190 on us, and we were just like 193, so we had to give them back their pita bread, and it went, and we had enough. But the lady next to us, she said something, I can't remember what it was, and I said, and to think of it, the Bank of Canada wants to make all of our money digital. What do you think will happen then? We wouldn't have been able to get our food.
No. And your story makes me think of something else. It's becoming more and more common that we are seeing people, it used to be an occurrence. I remember when I was younger, my mom would run the cash and say, what are we at? And the lady would say, you're at $30. And then she'd look at the ice cream and roll it back. We see that all the time now. People are having to ask how much the groceries are midway through the cashier running them up. And then a few years ago, if somebody in front of me was like short $3, you go, hey lady, here's $3. With the digital currency nowadays, it's complicated to do. You can't do it, and then there's so many people doing it. Actually, the other place I was wondering is I saw that poor girl at the mall ringing the Salvation Army bell. I'm like, I got no money. Remember we used to put money in the Salvation Army, or how do you buy a poppy now on November 11th? There's pros and cons. I'm going back. You and I have had that chat. I refuse to pay taxes. I'm working my ass off not to pay taxes, and I'm bartering.
That's kind of what I was getting into when I was introducing you, because it's like, when you get to a point where taxation becomes, I don't think you were at the point of overtaxation, but we are getting there. We are getting there. You're making a stand against. You don't want.
I'm overtaxed, but first of all, at one point I would have said I was overtaxed, but I still felt that I got value for my taxes, and some of my taxes were adding value to somebody else, right? So, but now I'm at the point where I'm overtaxed and the money's wasted. It's wasted, right? It's so maddening. I just come back from a hike yesterday. I went on an overnight hike in Kananaskis, and I stopped at the plaque. There's a plaque there that says, this is Kananaskis, and it was the vision of Peter Lougheed and 3 other guys, and it was meant to be a park close to Calgary that we could enjoy. We have to pay to go to Kananaskis now. We have to pay. And they started making us pay a couple years ago. Well, I'm the kind of guy who parks about 500 yards from the gate. I don't give a shit. I park on the road 500 yards from the gate, and I walk into the park. I'm just not paying. I just I'm not cheating. I'm not taking a chance. I'm just I won't pay. So I park a little while away, ride my bicycle to the trailhead, and then go from there. And I find myself doing that over and over in all sorts of places, because taxes aren't just, on your paycheck. Fees, park fees is a taxation, parking tickets, whatever. Like we're taxed to death. And it's wasted. That's what's frustrating to me, is that the money is wasted. I think you talked today. Again, I'm an outdoors guy, so I'm in the park. They're charging me more to go in the park, and there's less and less and less infrastructure. And then I find out about a waste like Parks Canada paid, it's $800,000 to kill 100 deer.
Yeah.
And they did it in ways that are illegal for me to do. They used AR-15s, they flew in helicopters, and they shot the damn deer at night using night vision goggles. Like, holy
all
shit.
of those things you can't do in Canada. It's unbelievable.
All of those things I can't do, because we'll come back to property rights. So I can't do those things. They wasted $800,000, and that's only year one. There's 2 more years of this. So you're right. The number they're throwing around, the budget to do this is in the $5 million range.
Yeah.
And to me, that's money wasted, because I'll go do it as a for cheap as a hunter. But the point I was getting back to is, in the national park, they're making me pay more and more to get less and less services. And I'm going, well, of course I have to pay more, because you're wasting $5 million to kill 100 deer.
Mm-hmm.
So stop wasting money on killing the 100 deer, and maybe build a bridge over that creek that that washed out 16 years ago and I can't access anyways. It's property rights.
Well, yeah. Property rights is really what it comes down to, and this is where I find you can actually win over lefties on this one, because I think a lot of lefties are lefties because they're they think they've got a big heart, right? And they want everybody to be doing okay, and they think we're doing okay as a society. Why can't we just take care of all these people, right? And so it comes from a point of having empathy for others, but I think if you really bring it down to property rights, you can convince them otherwise from what a lot of the ideology that they've learned over the years of because for example, I had a chat with,
give me an example. Give me an example.
I had a chat with someone, and their knee-jerk reaction, I could hear it in what they were talking about. They're our Western society's bad because corporation this and blah blah blah, and it was all about how corporations are bad and capitalism's no good. And I okay, well, hold on a second. Do you think what we have is capitalism? And at first he was like, "Oh, what are you talking about?" Yeah, of course it's capitalism. I said, "Well, okay, well let's define terms, right? Like, I don't really like to call it capitalism. I call it market economy, because first off, Karl Marx has coined the word capitalism, and it was a critique of the market economy, saying that the capital owners are the only ones that are vested interest in this thing, and everybody else is the loser in the whole story. And that's not true. That's not as absolutely untrue. In fact, the person who puts all the risk in it, buying all the capital, they could get rich, but they take all the risk at everybody else's benefit. There's so many people that benefit from the risks that investors or entrepreneurs and all these people take in engaging in the marketplace. So the idea there is that a market economy it's not capitalism like Karl Marx said, but a market economy first and foremost is what? It's people coming together with business ideas, like saying, okay, well, I'd like to open up my own business and I'd like to do this. Are you against that? And that's what I asked the guy. Are you against that? A guy opening up a sandwich shop and then being able to run a sandwich shop. Well, no, I'm not against that. That's not what I'm talking about when I talk about capitalism and what's bad about it. And he says, well, I don't like that, corporations can buy the politicians and then they get their way in this whole thing. I said, so you're against regulation? And his response to that was, no, of course we should regulate the market. I said, well, the first thing to be bought and sold when the regulators come in is the regulators, right? Like those are the people that get bought and sold, and they're bought and sold by these corporations.
You lost me somewhere though. Bring it back to you were trying to convince you were using the advantages of property rights to convince the lefties.
Right. So where it comes,
bring it back to that.
Okay, where it comes back to, it's the idea that if you worked hard. So I'll explain the market economy essentially, and then I introduced the idea. Well, okay, so you've worked hard, you've earned it, you did this through the voluntary means of exchange through individuals in again a voluntary way, and then somebody else comes in and says, I'm going to take some of that. Well, you're not keen on that, right? Are you? And I'm going to give it to somebody else who doesn't. Now, do you have a right to that, to the what you've earned? And a lot of people will say, well, yeah, I should have a right to that. And
well, sorry, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, and so I should have a right to that. And then you bring it to lower and lesser examples, you know. So say you went out into the woods and you know, you're having a hard time catching fish or something, right? And you came up with a great idea of weaving together a net and then using that to catch more fish, and you're able to do that. What if somebody else came along and said, mine now? That you would see that as completely unfair, right?
Completely unfair. And so yes, and okay, now I know where you're. I'm back on the same page. I think one of the
but that
things
guy is a capitalist. The guy who built the net is a capitalist. He's
totally,
invested
he's a
his time and built capital.
Absolutely. And one of the things that people one of the problems with a lot of people is they don't make they don't see the parallel between, let's say, large corporations and large entities and small entities, and that tends to be a problem, right? So you give an example, you know, they'll say, oh, it sucks that whatever Loblaws is making an extra profit. Now I'll go, well, what about the guy in that small town who owns a one-person grocery store? Is he allowed to make a profit? And they'll go, yeah. So then, you know, when you have those kinds of arguments, you'll realize that some people, for a lot of people, big corporations, big entities, big groups are faceless, and they can't see the parallel between big and small. You know, I mean, people like to get mad at Loblaws, but Loblaws is simply making big profits because it's a big organization, but it has as much right. Yeah, it has as much right to make a profit and to keep the fish or to make a net as you and I do. Yeah, it's.
I do have my issues with corporation. I mean, the whole the whole idea of having a separate entity in order to mask people from liability, it's problematic in certain ways. It's not totally like evil. Everything corporate is evil. But like there is you know exceptions where, you know, instead of there being someone who you can actually prosecute and put in jail, you have a corporation where the best you can do is give them a fine and then move on, right?
Yeah, the theory is that the corporation is a living entity to be treated by anybody like anybody else, except who represents that living entity of the corporation. If the corporation's fine, it's supposed to be the CEO or the chairman or something like that. But you're right, and we've lost that practicality, or that it became too complicated a long time ago. I mean, yeah, a corporation nowadays, I mean, they have purposes. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I've worked for corporations. I have a corporation, so they're, you know, I take advantage of the law that way. But that's another hard to understand concept for some people. I mean, I have a corporation called Plan B Engineering. And I'm Martin, but I also have Plan B, and Plan B, as far as the government's concerned, is treated like a person. You know, it pays taxes and it follows the rules. Fun times.
Yeah, I hate getting into tax law. That's the worst. I pay an accountant to do that stuff because it gets complicated, especially when you have more. When you have different streams of revenue and you have different, it's too much for me. I don't like getting into that. Let's get into some of these super chats. Steve's Hyde for $5 says a cashless society is a fascist society. Also, Merry Christmas. I'm Justin Trudeau and I'm voting for Pierre for $5. Says I'm Justin Trudeau and I'm voting for Pierre, and I encourage all Canadians to do the same. That's funny. Hold on, we're missing some other ones here. Chris B with the $2.79 super chat. I want Pierre's mind your own business party. I could get down with that. Gary Krell gifting 5 memberships to the channel. Everybody get in there and thank Gary Krell for that. And also gifting 5 more. Holy cow. Gary Krill gifting 10 memberships to the channel. Everybody who just got one, make sure to give a big old thanks to Gary in the chat. Thank you so much, Gary. I appreciate that. Merry Christmas. Amazing. You guys are so generous tonight. Is a really I don't know. I don't even know what to say. Thank you all so very much. Getting into this. So like this is, I think, the libertarian mindset has actually become a real thorn in the elitist sides. There was a recent video that went out of Klaus Schwab, and he was talking about how there's this move, there's this trend right now of people going away from the power structures that they're putting in place. And he names it libertarianism. He says this libertarianism is we have to fight against this, and this is great. It's great news, because only a year or two ago he was bragging about how he had his tendrils in the cabinets of all these different countries, and he named the president of Argentina as one of his guys that he knows that they're young global leaders for the World Economic Forum. And look at the change. Look at the change. And the change came in the form of libertarianism. And it came in the form of a country that's economically been hurting because of the socialist policies, not in lieu, but specifically because of these socialist policies over a half century. And now they're just cluing into this is the reason for their problems.
Yeah, you know, libertarian is a lot of people like the idea, like the concept, will say they're that they're libertarian until they're challenged, and then once they're challenged, you'll realize that we're so coddled right now, and people are so comfortable. So, you know, if I give a person I'm like, okay, you want to be a libertarian, I gotta cut up this budget here, and you're going to have to do things on your own that you had somebody else to do. So can I get rid of garbage disposal? And I'll go, oh, no, I like my garbage disposal. Okay, well, then you're not, do you want to haul your own water? Your own snow removal. And so when you start going down the list of what people start to expect, then the whole concept of libertarian goes out the door for a lot of people. I encountered that all the time. I mean, I talk to people about that. I live in the country, and I do things that are absolutely foreign to other people. The examples I just gave, I have to drive to the dump. Like I have to take my own garbage, once a month. I have a dumpster that I pay. It's parked on my property. I throw that stuff in there, and then I haul it away to the dump. I buy my own water. I don't buy my own water. I have my own water well. So, I buy my own water. I do my own snow removal. When my kids were going to school, I had to pay for them to be bused, and I do things like that day in and day out. So the idea of being libertarian and smaller government, people are in principle like it, but in practicality, when push comes to shove, they go, oof, are you willing to wait a little bit longer for an ambulance? So it's a concept that's disappearing, and it worries me. I mean, and then I live in a province that I would say is still a little more libertarian than some of the other provinces. And then we have people, you're talking about the influx of people. We have a huge influx of people. And then people go, oh, no, I'm from Ontario. And I tell them, like, leave your bullshit attitudes at home. And they say, oh, yeah, I will. And then they come here and I listen to them and I interact with them. And within days, I just go, see, you're doing it, man. You can't drop it, because they're accustomed to a certain level of government in their lives. And it's hard for them to disconnect from that. So being a libertarian is tougher than it sounds, for most people.
Well, it doesn't necessarily need to be, in my opinion. And I'm not arguing against what you're saying, but what I'm saying,
it's not even tougher, Clyde. It's not tougher, because it just means a little more effort. I mean, is it tougher for me to dispose of my own garbage? No. And I have more money in my pocket here in Alberta. We pay less, but we pay for our own, I pay less taxes, and we provide our own services.
Well, I absolutely love the garbage idea, or the garbage idea as a conversation piece, because I lived in Tokyo, Japan. Garbage is my favorite conversation. No, but I lived in Tokyo, Japan, where they have the same system. It's not automatic that you get your garbage taken away for you for free. No way. Or else there'd be garbage all over the streets, because they understand the problem of the commons is just mess. So what they do is you buy these bags that are like a proper size bag or whatever, and from the convenience store you have to buy stickers. You buy stickers and they go on the bag, and if there's no sticker on the bag, nobody picks it up. Nobody's grabbing it. And it's a thing. You pay for it. It's a service, and if you don't want to pay for the service, you could deal with your garbage in other ways. But this is the way it works there. And then there's no, it's not like a monopoly that runs it and everybody's getting they're not getting jabbed or anything like that. It's not or gouged or whatever. It's not.
The Japanese are unique that way, though. I mean, they're an interesting culture. Aren't the Japanese the ones that clean the stadiums themselves after a game? Like they'll go to a sporting event and then everybody leaves, right, and picks up their garbage.
They pick up their own. Yeah, they pick up their own trash.
Yeah. What does our stadium look like after a game? It's
gnarly,
disgusting, right?
Gnarly.
Yeah.
It's awful. But yeah, I mean, that comes with time and cultural, I mean, I'm a fan of social ostracism. I'm a fan of it if it's for the right purposes. Just the only way we've used it in our society lately is to ostracize people who don't do a medical procedure that the government wants you to do. I think it's totally fine to socially ostracize people that are litterers or things like that, and tell people, what are you doing? Pick up your garbage.
I'll give you one quick example today of libertarianism in Alberta. So, Alberta is pretty far on when it comes to alcohol sales. We're pretty far down the, full libertarian system. I mean, we don't have any kind of Alberta liquor stores anymore. It's all private. And then the big grocer chains, they can't sell it in the grocery store, but they can sell it just outside. So if you have a Sobeys, then there'll be a Sobeys liquor store. So you buy your groceries in Sobeys, and then you come out and you buy your liquor. Today, Alberta, Danielle gave permission to the minister in charge of that to look into going full out, like Sobeys can put the liquor wherever they want, which is a crazy Yeah, it's great. And it's a crazy libertarian move. And on the talk show, when I was driving and listening to it, it's incredible how many people called in and started saying things like, well, what about the poor guy who does this, who might be taken out of business? And again, if you're a libertarian, then it's survival of the fittest. Yeah. And they were making every excuse. Well, that guy's had a business for 30 years and now he might be, pushed out by so-and-so. He's like, he could be, or he could find a way to compete and win out. So, it's being independent, being willing to compete against everybody else is risky, and it's not for everyone anymore. Like there's a lot of people nowadays that don't want to compete. It's a scary concept. It's
No, absolutely. Victoria Listenau, I think is how you pronounce that, with the 13.99 super sticker. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. That's amazing. Thank you guys, all of you. You've been so generous this. I guess the Christmas spirit's in full force right now. And it is over here. I'm having some wobbly pops tonight. I hope you're having a couple too, Marty. There we go.
No, where do I show it? There you go, Mike.
The high sugar content. They've taken all the sugar out of these ones.
Dude, I just finished walking, a few miles into the wilderness and a few miles out, and I slept outside. And it was warm last night. I told my wife. I mean, it was only -5. I was almost too warm in my sleeping bag, and I had my arms outside my sleeping bag. So, I had a great night. It was great. Just for the viewers, I like to go out on that night. You talked earlier about the birth of Jesus Christ around the December 25th and the winter solstice. So I went out last night. Actually, the winter solstice is tonight. It's right now, but close enough yesterday. And I like to go out in the wilderness and camp overnight in the bush on the shortest daylight day of the year. So I had no more sunlight at about 4:15, and earlier than that, if you think about the sun had gone down behind a mountain, and then it didn't come up until about 8:15 this morning. So and what I do on that night is I go out there and make a nice big bonfire, bring a little bottle of whiskey, and I just sit there and stay up and pretend to be a druid celebrating the solstice. And yeah, it's good. So I can burn a few calories today. I must have burned 1,000 calories just walking there. Yeah, I'm good.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I haven't done enough camping. We do. We're filthy casuals, and we do all our camping when it's nice weather outside. That's what we do. Well, we got 2 young kids, and that's well, we have 2 seasons. We have sunny and warm, and we have rain. So, that's the way it is here in Canada. A couple more super chats. Big Alice with the $5 super chat. Open banking, the Department of Finance will advance the work required to stand up a Canadian framework governing consumer-driven banking. With the, I'm not sure where we're going with that one. The Department of Finance will advance the work required to stand up a Canadian framework governing consumer-driven banking. That's that's kind of over my head on that one. But thank you so much for the super chat, Big Alice.
Are the super chats a little bit like a tweet? They're limited to a few characters, so it's tough to try and make.
So it depends on how much you're trying to say, and then it gets difficult to put into the chat. Penny D with the $5 super chat. Never mind our stadiums, we have toenails on the floor of the House of Commons. LOL. What?
Oh,
what?
Yeah, that was Chrystia Freeland cutting her toenails while Mileti was looking on at her. Oh my God.
He was looking at her toes. Oh, gross.
Well, it's a picture. She's got her leg up, and that's the assumption. She looked like she had her leg up, and she was cutting her toenails. And then you know how they got like they're in little benches side by side, and the other guy's looking at her, going like, "What are you doing?" And the rules in the House of Commons, some of them have become slack, right? I mean, people have been commenting, like some of the MPs are showing up almost wearing like freaking jeans and polo shirts and stuff like that. Like they're getting pretty casual.
Yeah.
For
We got another super chat from Deb H 1960. Merry Christmas. I really enjoy your show. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Other people saying, wobbly pops make reading chats harder. Yeah, so does dyslexia. I suffer from dyslexia. It makes things difficult, especially if there's typos. I get lost in the typos big time. So sorry if I couldn't read your chat. That's just some of the stuff that I deal with on the day to day. But yeah, camping in British Columbia is fantastic though when the weather is great. It's too good. But we're like I said, filthy casuals. We got the big old pop-up tent. We roll in with our minivan and that's camping.
You guys have too much rain. You know, I'm not a rain guy. I'm sun's cold. I don't mind cold. Like people always ask me that. Like I don't mind cold. If I look at the forecast and it's just cold and snow, no. Rain, I don't like rain. Don't like rain.
It's hard to get used to. It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. I do miss Tokyo though, because when I was living there, the winters were shorter. And it does rain there, but it's not quite like this area. It rains a lot more here.
Our winter is mild right now. We're having what I would call a mild winter, but I don't want to mention it too much because as soon as you say we've had a mild winter, then you got a bunch of people that say, "Hey, the carbon tax working and or not working," and it's.
I was joking about that today.
It's a mild winter, man. Like I shouldn't be afraid to say it's a mild winter. We have them every 5 years. We have a mild winter. That's it. It's a mild winter, man. It's not an unusual phenomenon. It's not climate change. It's not a crisis. It's a mild winter. We have them.
Well, if anything, they would say that the carbon tax, if we're paying it, isn't working. We need to.
Isn't working.
Yeah, it's not working. It's not doing its thing. Michael McLean with a $10 super chat says, "Let's do a camping trip next summer, Clyde. Not much rain than Marty. I'll come out to you." And let's get Marty out to us, teach us some new camping skills, and have some fun. That might be a possibility. Who knows? We always got different trips planned. I think if the offer's still on the table, I might come out to your hunting trip next year because that'd be fun.
Oh yeah, that offer's on the table for sure. That offer's on the table. That's not to be missed. We'll get you at that one for sure. And you'll have to bring some camera gear, and it won't be live, but we gotta set up and record around the fire because some of the conversations around the fire. I love my friends, I love my buddies, and they're they're considered rednecks by the majority of people, but they're like you and I, man. They're blue collar workers with an opinion that needs to be listened to. I mean, I've talked about this many times. The the Chrystia Freelands and the Trudeaus, like when Trudeau says, I listen to Canadians, bullshit, you listen to Canadians, man. Unless you've actually sat in the bush with us or on the rig or, like I'd love to see that. I'd love to see Justin Trudeau actually doing some manual work alongside guys for an afternoon. Like not just show up and pretend to hammer something, like, show up in the shop and work, take apart these dirty brake calipers, dude. Like have fun, knock yourself out, like, yeah, no.
Well, I find it interesting, like dealing with, because you get the extremes on Twitter, for example. You get out there and you talk to people who politically disagree with you, and I find like often when it comes to dealing with like conversations with these far lefties or Trudeau supporters, things like that, they claim to be super tolerant of other people's cultures and other people's ways of life, but when you talk to them, all they want to do is make fun of you based on tropes that they think about your culture and your way of life and your things, talking about rednecks and how awful they are, uneducated, unthoughtful, all of this stuff. I mean, what are some of the tropes about, let's say your average, what people would consider redneck, roughneck Canadians? It's always that they're dumb, they're not, they're not thoughtful,
they're uneducated, they can't tell their wines apart, they didn't go to school, they don't know art, they don't know whatever,
they don't read books.
They don't read books. They don't know what's going on in the news. They pick their nose. I mean, yeah, it's like it's crazy bullshit. I've been called redneck my whole life, and and I'm like, it's a badge of honor as far as I'm concerned. If by redneck you mean somebody who's got dirty fingernails and works hard and provides for his family and and will stop by the side of the road if he sees that you're having a flat and an offer to help, well, then I'm a redneck. So that
doesn't hurt to get that explanation. Yeah.
No, and I can't remember, you were talking about this earlier, and I thought about this. You were talking a little bit about the hypocrisy of the left and some of the things they do. Like, like I said, something as like if being a redneck means that if I'm standing in line and the lady in front of me with the kid that is missing $3 to buy her groceries, I'll give her $3. And that's what you were talking about, something like that. Like the society need to be involved in everything to fix the problem. And when you talk to the liberals, when they say, "Oh, we need to fix the problems," they mean no. They want to feel good, maybe paying taxes to know that somebody else is fixing the problem, but they're not going to go fix the problem themselves. They'll walk over the homeless person on their way to whatever, put the money in the donation box. Even better, they want me to put the money in the donation box and me to, they want to force me to do the thing. They won't do the thing. We see that all the time. I mean, it's classic virtue signaling, right? To say something, but to actually not do something. So, and that's the definition of libertarian and the right. I'll take that definition of the right is that I'll give you an example. Here's another example. Now that I'm thinking about it, I tweeted about this week. There's the Cross Cancer Institute in Edmonton, world-class cancer institute, right? But you still have to pay parking when you go there. You have to pay parking. And so, and then this week, somebody shared a picture with me outside, just by the door. There was a sign, whatever, Edmonton Plumbing or something like that, some company, and it said, "We're paying for the parking today." And then they had one of their staff, they organized at work, and the boss, the owner of the little company, said, "I want you 3 guys to go to the Cross Edmonton Institute today, and everybody you see coming in and out of the parkade, you walk with them and you put this credit card and you pay their parking." So government didn't need to do that. And that is a completely, I will say it is a completely right side conservative thing that happens. We take care of ourselves without having to be forced to take care of ourselves. That's one of the fundamental difference. You'll never see a pure, truly crazy liberal organization do that. Well, actually, they're not businesses. There's no, I can't think of, now we're into a whole other topic.
I always think of like, don't feed the wildlife signs, they'll become dependent and then they'll always come to you for food, and that's what comes to mind. That's like, I guess that's a libertarian philosophy, that we just extend that to human beings as well. right? Like if you give people food, well, if you give people handouts all the time, then they'll grow dependent on those handouts, and then when the money runs out for them, then they're really up shit's creek, because now they don't even know how to take care of themselves, and they don't have a community around them that will take care of them when they need it, because that just became the norm to have these handouts. Robert McFallon with another $20 super chat. Born in Manitoba, lived 33 years in Alberta, worked construction and 9 years on rigs. The best man I've ever met, worked oil field. That's, yeah. I mean, I hear this kind of sentiment all the time, obviously. Like, real solid people work industry.
Fishermen, farmers, lumberjacks, carpenters, mechanics, plumbers, the people who fix the stuff that everybody else needs. Like, yeah, it's I mean, that, you know, and I hate the other stereotype. That's a nasty stereotype, that, oh, you're a plumber or you're a mechanic. Well, I went to school and I got a degree in philosophy. Who cares?
Well, who's the dummy? Okay, well, let's see this. Yeah. Who's the dummy? The guy who went to school for 4 years in an apprenticeship and makes a ton of money and raises a family and all this stuff, or the guy that spent $100,000 on a philosophy degree and works at Starbucks? Who's the dummy? Who's the dummy?
Totally. Yeah, no. And the guy who went to school and came out without debt is already ahead. He's like the mechanic who did his 2-3 years and then apprenticed is way ahead. And then think of the money that guy saves on cars or whatever skill he has. I mean, that's the other thing that's funny. People don't have basic skills anymore to do. Like, it's one of the things I like to post on Twitter. I post that on Twitter all the time. You know, one of the things I try to do on Twitter is bring some sort of personality to it, to show that I'm not a bot kind of thing. So I do share ideas. And I mean, people can't, like, you know, I fixed my furnace the other day. I mean, I didn't fix the furnace. Like, it's this thing. It's an igniter, right? It's an igniter. Mm-hmm. And somebody's like, oh my God, you changed the igniter in your furnace? I'm like, yeah, look, you unscrew this end, you unplug this one, you read the little code on here, you find one on the internet for $75, and then you reassemble in the reverse order. It's not complicated. But some people will call and that's when I say I barter. Those are the kinds of things I do. I'll go fix somebody else's furnace, and then you got to do something for me. You know, it's one of the things that the government still legally we're supposed to declare the bartering so that the government can tax us.
Yeah, get stuffed.
Get stuffed. Yeah. You think I'm going to tell you that Frank gave me 40 pounds of nice moose burger or hamburger, and I did an oil change for his car and his daughter's car? You think I'm going to declare that to the government? No, I don't think so.
No way. What, just out of the kindness of your own heart, you're going to tell the government that you got that? Yeah, no thanks. Yeah. No thanks at all. Yeah. That's so funny.
I wonder how big the underground economy is nowadays. It's got to be growing. And that is one of the that's why the government wants a cashless society. It's you can't hide your taxes, you can't hide anything. You know, in a cashless society, I can't even, you know, trade old cars or whatever. I mean, they want that, you know.
Well, it's only a matter of time. Okay, so the more draconian it becomes, then you'll see something springing up and becoming a currency. That's my prediction. Is if they go full on cashless society, you know, go on with this UBI and all this stuff.
They do it in prisons. I mean, in prisons they use cigarettes. In the movies, you know, the Last of Us in the movie, they had something, you know, they'll well, I mean, cash today used to be cards, playing cards, right? I mean, it goes all the way back in North America to the 1700s or whatever. They used playing cards, and they would rip them in half, and the two matching cards became currency or whatever. Yeah. Humans are clever that way. I mean, we'll and crypto's working on it, and I don't understand crypto. That's why I'm not going to buy crypto. But we'll figure out.
I get a grit. I got a kind of a grasp of how blockchain technology works, but I mean, I'm not a crypto bro. I do think that it could be I think it could be used as a good means of exchange if people were to use it for such. But right now, because it's bid up, because everybody they're speculating a thing that has scarcity, right? It's such an interesting concept, though. The idea that because like I dork out on economics. Throughout history of mankind, we've been dealing with a world that is full of scarcity. I mean, that's what the world is. The world is us living in nature, and nature's a son of a bitch and will kill you at any chance that it can. And we live with scarcity. And what we've done is we've come up with a market economy. Well, market economy is kind of a natural thing that sprung out of our social behaviors as human beings, right? The market economy happens, and we've been getting more and more efficient at removing scarcity, driving scarcity down so that we have more and more abundance. And as soon as we get to a situation where abundance seems to be reaching like a point where almost everybody in the world, or at least in the civilized world or in the first world, has more than enough things for at least a subsistence level. I mean, when obesity is at such a epidemic, then we don't have a problem with getting stuff. But then what do we do just to make a buck? We create something artificially scarce in a situation. Because the digital world is an interesting thing because,
dude, you nailed it. I mean, you nailed it right now. So what did the government announce this week? What do we all have right now in plentiful? Cars, gasoline, energy. And so what are they going to do now? They're going to create an artificial scarcity, and they're going to make us get an electric vehicle, which, by the way, I think that's an example of a reverse infringement on property rights, right? There's the property rights where you're not allowed to have it and they take it away from you. But I'd also say that being forced to only buy something, I mean, I want to buy a gas car that goes 100 miles an hour. I know I can't drive it on the road at 100 miles an hour, but I'd like to be able to take it to the track or whatever. But now the government's saying, nope. You can only have an electric vehicle. I think that's a form of property rights violation. It is. Actually, you can't convince me otherwise. It's
well, especially if it's something that you need, right? If it's something that you need. So say you live in a circumstance where, you have to drive somewhere. And eventually your car is going to crap out and you have to get a new car. Well, you're forced to buy this kind of car. Well, I don't want that kind of car. I know it just sounds like a frivolous choice issue, but no, it really comes down to the fundamental.
Well, no, you're 100% right. I mean, the people that are making these rules are living basically like half the country lives under a little line, in the Greater Toronto area and Montreal, and then for that half of the country, they think that we all live somewhere else by a ridiculous choice, and we should all live where they are. The idea that I explained, some people would say, well, move. If I say, I got to drive 200 kilometers to work, I've had people say that. Well, that's ridiculous. You should move. I'm like, well, no, I don't want to move. I like seeing the Rockies, and I'm okay driving 200 kilometers.
I'm good with it.
That's my problem. That's not your problem. That's my problem, right? If I want to drive 100 kilometers there and back every day, that's my problem. But some people are like, well, no, you should move. Well, now we're getting into a whole other. They want to shove us into the 15-minute cities.
Well,
they want to control
us.
We've talked about this.
It's the is or the ought, right? It's like you ought to do. Should I? Or shall I? Are you going to force me? Are you going to force me to do that thing? And before we get into that, I'm going to hit a couple of these super chats.
Sure.
Michael McLean for $5 says socialists want everyone to have what they need, but they want bureaucrats and government to do it and the poor to pay for it. Go Marty and Clyde. That's good. I'm going to have to scroll up because there's a whole bunch of these. 1 second. Let me get to this. Okay, I think I'm caught up. Steve's Hyde, $20, says, a positive message to Canadians. Guys, I know the WEF is trying to get us, but look at the UK, look at the EU, look at Australia. We have a strong resistance, and the truckers have inspired protests across the globe. That's really true, actually, and they're scared of that, and that's why I think, you know, in Southern America right now, there's a real push towards liberty, and they're terrified because, I mean, they wouldn't make public statements about libertarianism and their disdain for it if they weren't really, you know, pushing back on it. Victoria Lizino, I hope I'm pronouncing that correct, with a $6.99 super chat. Thank you so much. Didn't say anything, but thank you very much for the chat. Yuji Tai, I recognize that name, with a $10 super chat. He makes great coffee right out of Vancouver here. It's Red Raccoon Coffee. Fantastic company. If you ever want to get somebody, you want to support somebody who's freedom oriented, you know, civil liberties and that kind of thing, you want to support a company that does great products, and you drink coffee, buy his coffee. Red Raccoon Coffee out of Vancouver. Yuji Tai, Merry Christmas. What happens to road maintenance fees when government isn't collecting gas tax? Well, I could give examples. Yuji Tai would understand examples of paying tolls on roads, and I'm not against it. I really am not against it. If it's companies that are building the roads and you get to drive on it for a toll, but you don't have to pay the fees on those tolls. But yeah, if they're not collecting gas tax on electric vehicles, yeah, how are they going to maintain the roads? That's interesting. Paradoxy for $20. Big fan of you both. The banking system were slow or down in Calgary today too. Took advantage to joke politely aloud in the long lines about, can you imagine how bad it could be in a society that's cashless? Awareness is golden. Great comment. I love that. Thank you so much for that one. Carla S for $6.99 says, remember when you could give your mechanic a case of beer for the rate to fix your car? No, I don't accept that anymore. It just does not happen. I don't take cases of beer for fixes. I take them as tips. That's what we do at work. We take them as tips. Gary Krill with a $10 super chat. Hank said it best. A country boy can survive. My dad was a mechanic. I'm a jack of some trades. Trucker, self-taught carpenter, and first year heavy duty mechanic, and a country boy. That's Hank Jr. Country Boy Can Survive. I love that tune. Never truer words have been spoken. Mr. Roscoe Pico, cute with the $5.50 with the $5 super chat. I live for horsepower and torque. Take it away, and I might get dangerous. Yeah, there's a lot of people in that camp. Absolutely. In Canada, around America, they're doing the same thing. Did you hear about Biden? He's making, I think it was like, I can't remember how many trillions of dollars they have invested in building charging stations across America. And trillions. Wow. And they built one.
Oh, you know, look at Trudeau. He was gonna plant 2 billion trees. He was gonna give us all canoes. What else? You know, in essence, actually, that's one of the good things. I mean, some of these rules, I'm not too worried about. You know, I'm not too worried about the EV rule. I'm not too worried about the gun ban. I'm not too worried about some of these rules because one of the things is government has gotten too big. Even the really, really good politicians still can't make the machine move. Like it's just you know.
Well, when do we get to the you know the old joke at the end of the Soviet Union where the people would say, yeah, you know, they pretend to regulate us and we pretend to be regulated, and they that's it. The system's collapsed at that point.
It totally has, and we're almost at that point. We'll see what happens. I mean, we got the first quarter of this year is going to be interesting. You know, it's going to be interesting. I actually look forward to seeing what happens with that petition. I mean, the petition is it's going to hit that 400,000. It's going to be presented into the House of Commons. Will it lead to a vote? Who knows? But hopefully they make a big deal out of just presenting it. You know, it becomes part of the public record. 400,000 people don't like you, Trudeau, and that's a big number.
Like
that's
really,
a big number.
Really don't like him. Like that's enough.
Yeah,
that's a lot to say.
It's 4% of the voters. It's 4% of people who voted. So, and again, some people say, well, that's not much. It's like, considering that most people aren't on social media or don't bother, like, you know, what do they call it? The silent majority. So the silent majority is always the silent majority. Most people, you ask my father-in-law, he's not heard about this petition, but 400,000 people have signed it. To me, that's a big number, right? That means that, you know, that's representative. I mean, you know, you got 400 people to do something. God, if we could get 400,000 people to show up on Parliament Hill for a protest, now that would be a protest. You know?
Yes, so, that would be. Well, I mean, we're not far off. You see what's happening in Germany right now?
Germany, Holland, a little bit in France, but which one in Germany?
Well, Germany is what's happening in France. The farmers are
same thing. Yeah, the farmers are blocking the roads.
Holland's not doing it anymore because they made their own farmers party and they won.
Yeah,
and that's it, and that's the direction it's going. And of course, guys like Klaus Schwab with his fourth industrial revolution. Yeah, no, people are seeing through it and they don't want it. They don't like what you're selling. And it's all against us. It's against commoners.
Yeah, and then it's interesting because we don't have, you know, some like Germans might not have, say, weapons, firearms like we do, but they got tractors, right? Tractors are effective. I mean, property rights, like they want to take away your land and your cars and your firearms and everything else. You know, throughout history, people have defended themselves with whatever they have. I mean, boy, if you have a tractor running down the road, you could do a lot of damage with a tractor. Might not go against a tank, but you're gonna plow through a few soldiers. I'm not advocating violence.
No, not advocating that. But no, it's interesting you say that because I remember when I lived in Japan, we would go to some of the museums around Japan, and I remember seeing the ninja stuff, and it was really cool to see because at the time it was illegal for anyone to own weapons, and a lot of these ninja, they were what were known as ronin, so that would be like formerly trained samurai, but they, you know, they're disgraced or they lost their master, so they're just nomads. So they go in and they end up working at farms and stuff, but then they would take contracts to do mercenary work or become hitmen. And the tools that they would use, they would makeshift farming implements into weapons. And they would make it so that they still looked like farming implements. So if they ever got caught, it's like, no, I just have these tools of my trade.
Yeah. So I can't think of one, but as an example, something like a nunchuck might look innocent enough, right? It's two pieces of wood with a chain. So you could tell somebody who's unsuspecting, going, oh no, this is, you know, it's a farm piece of, I use this for farming to pull weeds or whatever.
So that actually is a thing. It wasn't chain, it was string, it was twine. And it was for there's a process on rice stalks for removing the grain.
Did I just make that up and I actually picked a good example?
That was awesome. It's actually a good example. It's one of the things.
Cool.
So it was their version of a flail, right? So they had a flail that could be used, but was actually a tool.
England was the same way. I mean, it's weird to think, but you know, England is famous for its longbows and stuff like that. A peasant couldn't own a longbow. Like you know, it would have been a perfect tool for hunting deer or whatever. And nope, you're not allowed. And they had laws as to the length of the blades and stuff. And I think the sickles and things like that. That's why the sickle is an important Russian symbol and other things. And it kind of represent. It's funny that it's on the Russian flag because it does represent the peasant rebellion. I mean, it's a weapon of the peasant. It's not a weapon of the state. It's a weapon of the peasant. Mm-hmm. So you know, actually, it's incredible how many state or not state but nation flags have weapons on the nation flag. And actually, one of the most common weapons on nation flags is the AK-47. I think the AK-47 is on the flags of about 6 or 7 countries if you look closely.
Really?
Yeah, it's a, you know, again, it's a weapon of the state, but it's also a weapon that was adopted by the peasants. So well,
the Star Spangled Banner, the whole idea behind that was the rockets, red flare, and the bombs bursting in air. It's the War of Independence. That's what that symbolizes.
Well, it's a poem. It is not a poem. It was a newspaper article. after one of the big battles and during the Civil War, some journalist wrote a story of like the fort was being attacked and the rockets red glare and whatever. It was so, people didn't write like we do today. I mean, it was nicely poetically written, and I think it was barely changed to be turned into the national anthem of the U.S. It's almost it's just a newspaper article, a newspaper clipping.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a news. Yeah.
But I guess what's our flag? It's a leaf.
I actually think our flag is pretty cool. You talk about Japan. I think Japan's got a pretty cool flag, although Japan's flag is as close to a hate symbol as, say, the Nazi flag. I mean, there's people that don't that have bad memories when they look at a Japanese flag, right? I mean, it's
right.
If you're on the receiving end of the aggression of the Japanese flag is pretty nasty, and some people equate it to the swastika flag of Germany. I mean, whatever. But back to our flag, I think our flag's pretty cool. It's cool, but again, it's another thing. Maple, like our Canadian flag is a maple, is a sugar maple leaf. Now, there's about 30 different kinds of maples in Canada, and the sugar maple is popular, is native to the east and doesn't grow on the prairies. So when you look at so when you look at our flag and people say it's our national flag, it's like, it's actually a shitty tree to pick as the flag because the maple leaf is not a universal across the country. I mean,
we have silver maple out here, and the leaves are huge.
And
massive,
and Manitoba maples and other things. So if you wanted a tree, you'd be better off doing the dirty old black spruce, But that wouldn't
work. Poplar or
poplar. Yeah. What's that?
Hemlock.
Poplar.
Hemlock would not be a good tree. Yeah.
Yeah, and I tell that to people. I'm like, the maple leaf as an Albertan means nothing to me. Sure, we wore it on our sleeves during the war, but it doesn't. It doesn't. I don't see it here. It doesn't grow here.
In the chat, there's a Bogcatty put two red bars with a banana in the middle. That's our new flag.
Yeah, that's our new
Robert
flag.
McFallon with a $10 super chat. I asked my daughter and her boyfriend to sign the petition as my only Christmas present. Making sure we get enough signatures on that thing, because we're really making a statement with that whole petition going to Ottawa.
Yeah, and you said it. The system's official, right? Like I tried signing it twice just to see how the system works, and you can't sign it twice. Like if you enter the same email, the second time it says no, you've already signed it, and it asks for. Some people were nervous because it asked for your phone number and a few things like that. So put a fake number. Don't worry about the phone number. I
put my actual stuff in there. But I only did
some people are still worried about that. I mean, if you think the government doesn't know about you, my wife's old school like
they
that.
Know
like,
about you.
You're telling the government your phone number. I'm like, honey, they have my credit card number, my bank number, my passport number, my birthday number, my phone number. Like, come on,
Steve's Hyde for $5 says our flag looks friendly, but it also looks big and strong, independent.
Yeah, I was just being a smart ass saying
it grows on you. It
grows on you. It's a prettier flag than, say, how many countries like will get, say, Holland mixed up with there's several flags like that where you turn it upside down, it's Holland, you turn it this way, it's France, you turn this one, it's Italy, you turn it that way, it's Ireland. I mean, there's a lot of flags that that look similar.
Bars of color.
You're not going to mistake in Canada.
Well, it beats the heck out of a AK-47. I'll give you that. That's for sure.
Yeah, but I'll have to look that up. I think there's an AK-47 on about 6 different national flags.
Really?
So it's mostly in places like Zimbabwe and countries like that. Like it's file that under useless trivia.
for sure. Marty, entertain the chat for just 2 seconds. I'm going to jump to the fridge here and grab another one of these.
Okay. Well, I don't know how to entertain the folks. Just keep talking. I can't see the chat, so what the questions you folks are asking, but I just come back from a quick trip in the mountains. Like I said, I like to go out there on the winter solstice. I hike year round. It's one of the challenges that I give myself. I give myself the challenge of hiking in every month, and not just hiking, but staying overnight. So I like to stay out overnight in the bush at least one day every month in the year. And so now I did it on December. Now I can wait till the end of January, do January, February. Sometimes I try to do if I do January 28th and 29th and 30th and the 1st of February, then I do one trip and I get 2 months.
Yeah. Oh, I miss what you were mentioning there.
I was just saying I like to hike every month and stay overnight in the bush every month. It's just a challenge.
Oh, nice.
And actually, for just in case somebody's curious, there's 2 months that are very hard to hike in. December is a very hard month to hike in because the days are so short. Like they're short and it's cold. It's very hard to hike in December. And then the other month that I know historically I hike very little in is April, because the avalanche conditions in the mountains in April can be absolutely terrible, and then the snow gets soft where you can't ski and snowshoe and too deep to walk. So if I look back through my history of outdoor adventures, April is a stay-at-home month.
Oh, okay. And then June you have at the end of June, early July, most light. You can get the most coverage.
June, July, August, September.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
I got Robert McFallon for $5 says Marty. Mary is the actual shiz. I think you're trying to say Marty. I forgot the T in there. Cutter50 with a $27.99 super chat says, thanks to both of you for being voices of reason in this unreasonable time. Marty's comment the other day regarding the government being able to shut off your electric car when they don't like you is bang on. Keep it up, gents. Yeah, I don't disagree with you whatsoever on that one. In fact, I remember reading about this years ago. Because I grew up in Windsor, and in Windsor you get Detroit news all the time. Like that's all the thing. And I remember they had this used car salesman guy, Mel Farr, and he had these really stupid commercials where
ads.
He just had like some suit, like a leisure suit on, but he put a cape on his suit, and he would film himself and then turn the film sideways and superimpose himself on a screen. He was a superhero, and it was like Mel Farr to the rescue, like real nice, like janky Detroit like TV budget stuff. But he would sell these used cars, and at one point immobilizers became a thing, where if people didn't pay their bill, they get their. And anyway, he got sued big time because there was some woman was driving down East Jefferson, which is like the bad neighborhood, and the immobilizer just shut her car off, and she was stuck in the ghetto with a car that didn't work anymore. And
the technology to immobilize a car, I think, existed for about I'm going to say 20 years now. I mean, OnStar was a game changer, right? When Chevy came out with OnStar and they could do the diagnostic and stuff like that and detect that your airbags, and that should have been the clue that they were onto something. And then, but the next piece that's necessary is what we call, the drive-by-wire, the fly-by-wire, so that, because right now most cars have true mechanical linkages. Could I control your steering? Yeah, because there's a servo motor in there somewhere, and can I control your brakes? Perhaps, but I'd say it's still fundamentally difficult to remotely control a conventional gas-driven vehicle. But some of the electrics that are coming out, I think the Cybertruck is almost entirely drive-by-wire. So the Cybertruck will be controllable remotely very, very easily.
So I can get in there with a little bit of because I know the industry. I'm in there all the time. When it comes to like electric steering, if I was to try to override you with your holding the steering, I could. Yeah, like the power of the electric power steering is that great.
On a vehicle that has electric steering today.
But so you're right. The Cybertruck is the first one with fly-by-wire steering, But people were nervous about that for safety reasons. But aviation's used, fly-by-wire for ages. That's why the term fly-by-wire is a thing. So aviation's had it for a long time. But when it comes to being able to override systems, gas cars are no different than electric cars. There are so many gas cars that even the brakes and stuff are.
But
not all systems. Not all systems.
I have a car that you can't defeat. I drive a standard, so no matter what, at this point, like as much as everything else, you can't drive my. You
physically pull it out of gear, and then it won't do anything. Yeah.
But fly-by-wire is an interesting, and look it up if you get a chance. The Warthog, the A-10 there, that nasty-looking American aircraft.
Yeah.
It has.
I know what they sound like.
It has. It has a button called revert to manual. So it's fly-by-wire, but it is because of its mission mandate. It's designed to take a beating. It has a revert to manual system, and everything goes back to manual if they engage that switch. And some lady in the Iraq war in the last one got just hammered while she was flying that thing, and all of her alarms went off. She took her over her training, she reverted to manual, she flew that thing back, and people barely succeed in landing one in manual in training. She landed one in manual on a wing and a prayer. So find that video. That lady's amazing when she tells the story of she didn't know what to expect. She hit the revert to manual. It's like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, that's interesting. So my big fear when it comes to fly-by-wire and system overrides is actual abductions or robberies, things like that. So what was actually happening, and this was actually happening with some of the OnStar systems. I don't know if it was OnStar. I know Chrysler had a big issue, and they ended up all of their networks now have what they call a gateway module, and I think a lot of other industries or a lot of other proprietary setups are going towards this way, where your anything that's connected online cannot access the actual modules. They have to go through a gateway module, and the access is denied. Period. It like the hardware physically isn't there. They can't do it between, and the networks are completely isolated from each other. So what people were doing was they were hacking into vehicles, and then they were just leaving them roadside.
Right.
And then what would happen is somebody would come out and rob them.
Totally.
And then
drive or stop you when you're in the middle between two remote locations and be waiting for you there.
They couldn't make you go to it, but they would shut you down once you were in a vulnerable area. So that was a thing that was happening. So they put in these gateway modules so that this is not even possible anymore. And when they have security, convenience leads to security issues, and then security measures leads to people cracking the security, and you don't know where it's going to end up, because if they go beyond the gateway module where they physically can't get into the systems for the sake of like being able to do things like, for example, autonomous driving, now what's available to the internet is your entire flight path of your automobile. So then that's when you can have security breaches, and that's my biggest fear is, somebody knows who you are or knows, say that how much money you have, and they're like, oh, we could exploit this person, and then puts you into a hostage situation where they drive you somewhere. You know what I mean?
No, it's a classic example. You ask people, people like the convenience and then don't think of the nasty consequences. I mean, OnStar was sold as, we can detect that you've had a car accident. Well, that's great. Yeah, that's the convenience of it. You've had a car accident. We know your airbag's deployed. The inconvenience is that it could lead to something way more nefarious. And that's another thing that I find disappointing. People are people are willing to give up a lot of freedoms and liberties for convenience. I mean, I find that completely, disappointing. I mean,
well, and security, whether it's convenience
security,
or security,
like I gave the example the other day. I went for coffee with a friend, and then he offered to pay, and then the girl brought the machine over, and then he had an Apple Watch, and he just put his watch on the counter, and it paid instantly. And then I asked him, I'm like, would you go one step further and get a chip implanted? And he said, absolutely. I was like, oh God, that just, and he's a colleague, he's a fellow, he's a buddy of mine, and and yeah, he would accept a chip in his body for the convenience of being able to pay. I'm like, can you think of the way nasty things that can come out of that? Like, but
yeah, I would never do it.
Which is why.
But I would never argue that people shouldn't be allowed to do what they want to do with their own selves.
No. You can do what you want. I really don't care. But I just, it worries me that some people, in the name of convenience, just give up lots and lots of freedoms and then open up cans of worms for things that are, like my wife said, she's scared that I'm giving my phone number. Like, honey, if when you registered your watch, you gave them your phone number somehow, or your phone number's on your watch. So it's like I can detect it. I work for IBM, man. I know what they can detect. I've been, like, you talk about cars. I mean, well, I'll tell you a story. I mean, we just had 4 fires in Alberta this week. 4 fires, 4 church fires. 4 churches were burnt down this week in Alberta, and they know who did it. And people are like, how would they know? It's like, dude, if I have a general idea that the fire was set around 8 o'clock and somebody got called at 8 o'clock, then all I have to do is petition the court and get a search warrant. And I can go to the TELUS and I can say, I want to see all the phone signals for 12 miles around this church from 7 o'clock or from 6:30 until 10 o'clock. And I will have every phone signature, vehicle signature, everything. And then I can just start checking every one of them. Like no, and people say, well, what if the
you don't need to get a court to petition that.
No, they don't, because it's the same as canvassing. When it used to be a crime,
you can buy the data. You can buy the data.
Yeah, you can buy the data.
But you would just get a number, and then you would petition the court to find out what that number signifies on the database to an identity.
Totally. And people go, they don't do that. I'm like, well, I'll give you another example. When you look at the Google Maps and then you see a road that's suddenly blue or red and orange and it's showing traffic, what that actually is, the reason it knows there's traffic there is because they're looking at all the phones that are no longer moving, because everybody who's got a phone has a device. And if that device, if there's 14 phones at intersection of 12th and 16th that are not moving, then Google colors that red, because they don't need to know who's there. They just know there's 14 phones that aren't working, aren't moving. And so that's defined as traffic. And so, yeah, they could petition somebody to say, what are those 14 phones? They could.
Well, this was how, I don't know if you saw the I think it's like 12,000 Mules or whatever documentary by Dinesh D'Souza. So he did a documentary about the election that Biden fair and square won. That was, yeah. So what they did was they bought big data from a bunch of the phone carriers. And they did exactly that. And they looked at the phone data and looked at where people were going, and then isolated it to people who were going to voting stations in this 1 month period. And then they isolated it to people who visited more than one voting station or visited more than one time. And then they found this just astronomical amount of individuals that were going from station to station and then going to these locations for pickup and then going station to station and station to station. And this was all over the country. And this is how they totally won that election. Legitimately fair and square. We're on YouTube. I have to say that. It's I think we're a little bit off topic, but that's the reality. If you've got a digital phone or a watch, I mean, your phone is an incredible. The phone is a collection of sensors. That's what the phone is. It's a collection of sensors. It's a beacon. It's a location beacon. It's a temperature device, an altitude meter, and everything else. And the information from your phone is sold to an incredible number of people. And yeah, accelerometer too. I found I heard that even if you turned off all the sensors on your phone, this is an interesting thing, but they can ping with the cell towers to find your general location. And say you're on a bus, they'll be able to determine that you're on a bus. And then the way they'll be able to determine is because other phones that are pinging the same locations will have accelerometers in them that are showing they're going around corners and stuff like that. And they could just extrapolate from the data that you're with those other phones and you're on that bus.
I bought this just the other day. It's an AirTag, right? It's an Apple AirTag, but it's a knockoff AirTag.
Right.
You know what? You know how these work? I mean, the phones, they don't work off the GPS and they don't work off the network. They work off of everybody else's phone. So everybody who's walking in my neighborhood who has an iPhone or an Apple product is picking up this device and it's automatically triangulating. So I can see where my dog is because I put this on my dog's network or on my dog's collar.
That's crazy.
And it's $20 and it's working just because it's triangulating everybody else's phones here. And it's extremely precise. My dog's been coming home fat because I know she's eating garbage. So I put this on her. I'm like, she's at Chris and Christine's house right now. And Karen's like, really? I'm like, oh yeah, she's there right now. See, I can see her on the app. The technology, man.
Oh, that's
how we're being
funny.
How we're being monitored. I could throw that thing in my wife's car and I can see where she's buying me Christmas presents. I'm like, you're parked outside Co-op right now. I can tell, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's
yeah. So yeah, it's really interesting because Amazon,
$20, man.
Amazon's doing the same stuff with their devices. So anything that has like an Amazon device, whether it's like the Ring, I think it's the Ring app for your door, all these things, they actually, with big data, you can find people and get video footage of them walking down the street because they can triangulate and then go, oh yeah, you're here. Let's look at that Ring cam. That's
back to my original story. That's why I'm upset that they're not finding who set the arson fires. Oh no, sorry. They know who set the arson fires this summer. They know who set the churches on fire. They know all this stuff, you know. And so when people say, oh, the police are strapped and there's no resources to do that. Bullshit. They know. If they want to know, they know. If they don't want to know, then they can.
Well, then they ignore it. It's them legitimately ignoring it. Got some more super chats. Victoria Lissano with a $6.99. Thank you, Clyde, for your patriotism and the truth you present to us through these videos. The truth we all live today. Merry Christmas. Thank you so much. Funis saying for $5 says if you are ever lost in the wild, just put up 4 posts and then the government will send a tax assessment agent over immediately. That's funny. That's really funny. Yeah, if you're ever lost, just just make a stake, just stake a claim, and then sorry, I gotta find that other one. That cracked me up pretty good. Penny D with a $5 super chat. Hey guys, check out Edison Motors. They're fantastic ideas, very impressive for EV trucks. I've been talking about these guys for a bit. I brought him up when Marty and I were talking about it. I actually got in touch with Chase. He's the CEO of Edison Motors, and in the new year, I'm going to have him on. He's got a really tight schedule, so it was really like, he's like, dude, I'm not going to be able to just like make a commitment to your live stream, but maybe you can pull me off of a job for 10 minutes, 20 minutes or something like that. I said, okay, well, I'll get in touch with you. You'd
almost have to go visit him, kind of thing.
He's really busy. So we're gonna try something in the new year, and we're gonna but I have been in contact with him, and he wants to come on and chat. So I'm really interested. I think they're doing great things. They're doing things in the right direction. What they're doing is they're modifying old vehicles, so they're not like manufacturing new vehicles. It's not a
that kind of private innovation is always fun, right? I mean, that's amazing. There's some amazing innovation. Yeah, sure, Toyota's got the big labs and Honda and whatnot, but don't underestimate the little guys who are doing this kind of crazy stuff. And they're pushing the envelope. They're doing crazy stuff.
Well,
they're doing stuff that nobody else is going to do. I mean, who else? You know, Honda's not going to turn a logging truck into an EV, right? So,
well, check out this innovation. So, I mean, this is something that maybe people don't consider. So, what if you're driving logging truck and you go down a hill and the battery's full? because
it's over full. It can't even.
Well, you can't.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't want to.
You don't can't break and you can't regenerate. Okay.
Yeah, you regen, and then it's not a logging truck anymore because it doesn't have a direct drive to the Jake brakes on the engine for engine braking. So they've.
Oh, you're talking a conventional truck, not his truck.
No. So a conventional truck, you go Jake brakes, right? And then go down the hill or whatever, right? And it helps stop it from accelerating and sledding down the hill. So what they've done, if the battery's full and you can't use the regen to slow down the vehicle, what they've done is they've actually made it where the generator on the back of the engine turns into an electric motor, drives the motor, and it uses the Jake brakes to put a big load on the electric motor so that you're not over generating the batteries and causing like a battery fire. It's clever.
Something's gonna blow.
It's clever. I think it's really clever. So so these are guys that they're coming in. They great idea, and then when you see any great idea comes with roadblocks, and they're hitting them with real innovation, like real cool ways of just like, oh, okay, I didn't consider that one. Let's make a system that works for that. And they're doing a bang up job. So I got nothing but good things to say about Edison Motors and what they're doing. And I think they're doing it the right way. They started with industry, so people can buy this as a piece of capital that they can use for their fleet. And if it proves to be economical and last them, like say more economical than buying a new truck, you can outfit one of your old trucks or buy one of their trucks from them. This is great innovation, and I think like I've always felt that because I understand the efficiencies of internal combustion engines and their shortcomings, by making them diesel over electric, it's a win-win situation. I think so.
Yeah. But their trucks don't look very. They don't look very standard. It's not like a Peterbilt that's been modified. Their trucks look heavily modified to me.
Oh no, they have some of the old Peterbilts that just look like the old Peterbilts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the videos I've seen, they're sort of like in the Cybertruck category. I mean, the trucks look pretty, I don't know what's.
So that's their new build. That's their new build, or it's a full on thing. But they have some old ones from like the 1970s, and they still have like all the original body panels and all this other stuff. But it's got this diesel electric drive on them now, and they're freaking cool, man. They're really cool.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Well, I look forward to that. That'll be a good show. Good for you for scoring that one, if he can make the time.
Well, and that's the caveat.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to be a big, long conversation. It'll be me and at least getting a short chat with the guy, and that's take what you can
that
get.
Explains why they don't have a lot of videos. Actually, they're not prolific content creators. They're busy building. They're not creating contents about what they're building. Like their channel.
Well, they've been getting better at it actually. So they hired a social media guy, and he does just all their social media for them.
Perfect.
So
good for them.
They're pretty big on like the shorts and the Instagram stuff. So they getting themselves out there that way. I'd love to see them more on Twitter, because that's the place to be. Well, if you want to get in arguments.
Right on.
As you know. But hey, this has been a slice. We've run a little bit longer than usual.
Oh, is it longer?
Yeah. We ran for like an hour and a bit on that one. Another super chat. Just gonna get the last of the super chats before jumping out here tonight. I want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas, of course to you as well, Marty. As we're going into this, Don Wickenden again with another $5 super chat. I live in aviation fuel world. Static electric energy can end you and 2 square blocks day. Electric is not a full-on go. I get like when there's typos, I'm out to lunch. But yeah, basically static electricity can screw you over if you're working with avgas. 2 square blocks. I get it. It's not. There are safety precautions when it comes to EVs. And yeah, you definitely need the proper training to work on them. That's for sure. Steve's Hyde for the $5 super chat. Hey, are you guys excited about the Epstein names, or do you think that will be fake? I didn't even hear anything about that. I don't know anything about that.
Well, no, that's an ongoing rumor that, you know, we're eventually going to hear about the names of who went on the island, this and this and that. And
we heard that we were eventually we were told that we would eventually know what happened to the Kennedy assassination, but we never.
Yeah. If somebody was going to speak, it would have been that Ghislaine girl by now, and she hasn't. Just back to that, whoever the guy who talked about the aviation fuel and whatnot. Like I work for a small I work for batteries. For me, I work for a small outfit that, you know, we made power generating equipment, and we did have batteries, not the same kinds of batteries, but. Yeah, like low voltage and high amps, man, is dangerous. Like that was one of the things we warn people all the time. I don't like electricity. I'm a chemical engineer. So if it goes boom, like I like fuels. I love fuels. I don't like electricity. And I understand why he says they don't mix.
Well, it's the other way around. It's high voltage and well,
high voltage and low amps is high voltage and low amps is horse fences and electric fences and things like that. It just gives you a jolt, but it's not gonna kill you. Low voltage, very high amps. That's
like coils on a car, like a ignition coil.
Yeah,
those are no good.
Yeah, when you're holding the spark plug in your hand and you're testing it, you're gonna get a zap.
I've been there. But these electric cars, like your average car is 600 volts. It's not low amps either. Like they're pretty.
No, it's high amperage. I mean, I'd be worried around that. Like the end leads, you know, the batteries are in series or in parallel, and then you got those two big leads. Those two big leads got a lot of juice going through them.
Lots of juice.
There's a lot of juice, and like in my world, when we would check engines, electric motors, you touch them with the back of your hand so that if there's a shock, you get that reflex towards you and not with the front of your hand, which pushes down and makes it worse. So I don't like electricity. I like liquids and gases and things that go boom.
Oh, fair enough. I'm a fan. I'm really intrigued. I like the, you know, there's this whole new innovation with DC electric, high voltage DC electric going through inverters to convert it to high voltage AC, so you can run brushless motors, and their AC brushless motors are really, really high efficiency. They're great. They got tons of torque, and I got nothing but good things to say about them. But that being said, without the infrastructure, you need to have onboard internally combustion engines on the vehicle that's going to be driving that. That's my opinion.
We don't have the infrastructure, and I don't think we have enough copper in the world, period. I mean, there's 40 kilograms of copper in an electric motor in a Tesla, and there's not that much copper in the world. So that's the other problem. I think we're just going to run out of materials to make these cars. And, you know, the lithium and the copper are going to be two key elements that we're going to run out of.
Well, that's fair. That's fair. And I think it gives a big opportunity for Canada to open up, limit the restrictions on our mining sector, so we can get out there.
I got owned by a Tesla today. I was driving back from the mountains. I drive a BMW, and I was driving my BMW, and I could see him coming behind me, and I accelerated. He owned me. He just passed right by me.
Oh, they're fast.
That thing had juice. Yeah. Hey, I got to run too, Clyde, because I am driving to Whitecourt tomorrow. So Merry Christmas to you, my friend. Yeah, I'll be back. I'll drive home on Wednesday next week, so I'll be on for our show next week on Wednesday. But I'm going to take a little break. 16 of us at my sister's house, so we're going to go have. By this time tomorrow, I should be well oiled.
Nice, awesome. So I want to thank everybody that came out for this chat. We're doing pretty good. It's a pretty big stream tonight. It was a popular request to have you on, Marty. So I'm glad everybody could make it out for this one. And everybody, Merry Christmas. And as always, we'll see you in the next one. Keep on trying.